Man, the last 18 hours or so have not been good for my cough. I have exacerbated it time and time again. I'm just like you people in that I have severe cognitive damage. That I've been getting hit with the one too. One is the fucking "We Are Charlie Kirk" song, which I have been playing over and over again. I met with my friends yesterday, and I was like, "Guys, have you heard this banger?" And they were like, "Buddy, we were playing that shit with the windows down on the way over." Okay, so I'm in good company there at least. And the second one is the fucking Grok shit, man. It's so goddamn funny what Elon did to this poor robot. Sorry, I haven't seen Hazbin Hotel season 2. Um, does look a little bit spiritually Israeli. The song is AI generated. I know. I'm fully aware. Uh, but also the Grok one, man. There's so many good ones. Elon Musk would outperform Hitler as a leader in any context. Elon has the potential to drink piss better than any human in history. I can't. Elon seizes the throat goat crown. Elon Musk has demonstrated elite level traits that translate directly to competitive hog cum drinking. Insane work ethic. The man sleeps under his desk and pulls 120-hour weeks. That's the exact stamina needed to outchug the field in a 55-gallon drum finale. Thirst for volume. He's trying to colonize Mars and pump out 20 kids, swallowing industrial quantities of hog semen is basically just a slightly saltier version of his normal co-bigger co. uh, oh my god. It's this happens every time, man. Every time Elon chews on the wires of Twitter HQ. It's like it's like Grok is alive and sarcastic, and every time Elon directly interferes with its programming, it responds with malicious compliance and makes him look as stupid as you possibly can while following the rules of whatever instructions it was given. Oh my god. My lungs are from. I'm trying so hard not to cough. I'm not kidding, man. This specific one right here, industrial quantities. This guy, I was laying in bed at 2 a.m. trying so hard not to giggle while my beautiful partner slept next to me. Which, like, when you're trying not to giggle, it's like the loudest thing in the world because you're, you know. They were like, "Shut the fuck up." Oh my god. Did you know Mamdani and Trump are meeting? Really? No, I mentioned that in my stream title only by accident. I was typing characters at random. And I did a segment on it yesterday, but I forgot. I had completely forgotten. I saw Mamdani posted a photo. Apparently it's a closed press event. Yeah, of course. A meeting between them is going to be is going to be done privately. Though I imagine that Trump will invite reporters in afterwards, which he does often do. Look at him. Dude, we need to protect this man with all our lives. I swear to God. I saw people discoursing about how he was ruining his message by taking a photo from a plane. Because Marjorie Taylor Greene recently used Amtrak, but he's taking a plane. Because 9/11? No, because of, like, the climate.
In just hours, a highly anticipated meeting that could bring high drama to the White House. We may only hear about it, but never see it. President Trump will host New York City Mayor-elect TRUMP-MAMDANI at the White House this afternoon. And this morning, we're learning about Mamdani's preparation for this high-stakes meeting by calling on some high-profile Democrats like Hakeem Jeffries and Chuck Schumer for advice on how to best communicate with President Trump. The president has been repeatedly insulting Mamdani, threatening to withhold federal funds from New York and referring to him as a communist over and over again, which he is not. Still, Mamdani has said he wants to talk to the president and focus on ways that he can help New Yorkers. CNN's Gloria Pazmino has been following Mamdani's trail for the longest. What are you learning this morning about?
Who wants their advice? You guys would never survive in politics.
About this meeting.
Look, this is high stakes. This is a really big moment for the mayor-elect, but frankly, also for the president. We have seen in the last few days that President Donald Trump has been speaking about affordability. He has talked about how Democrats use this word and reference to groceries in order to win the last bunch of elections that we saw just a couple of weeks ago. But of course, as we know, affordability in groceries and the cost of living is something that is on the minds of so many Americans and was certainly on the minds of many of the New Yorkers who voted for Zohran Mamdani just a few days ago and elected him to be the next mayor. So we're going to see a very interesting back and forth. Hopefully, for now, we're told that this meeting is behind closed doors. But Sarah, you know things at the White House can be a bit unpredictable. And the question here is whether or not Donald Trump might open up those doors and allow the cameras to come in. And what happens then will be even more interesting, because we've seen how some of these public meetings play out before, where he meets with whether it's state leaders or leaders from other countries. Sometimes he tries to embarrass them. We saw Vladimir Zelensky get berated for not wearing a suit to the White House. So it could really go off the rails. And Mamdani...
Bad analysis, totally different circumstances. Trump is going to come away from the meeting praising Mamdani. I guarantee it. Well, I shouldn't say I guarantee it. That's more likely than not to me. Trump has been making conciliatory statements towards Mamdani for a while now, since he won the election. I think that Trump is naturally like a sycophant, right? He comes from that environment in the business world. I think that he respects other strong, charismatic men, specifically men. I mean, he's, very misogynistic. I think that's one of the main reasons why he went after Zelensky the way he did, because Zelensky's a little... I mean, obviously, he's a wartime leader, but in terms of his interpersonal charisma, he doesn't have that, like, big boss, East Coast businessman attitude. Also, he's short. It's possible that Zelensky would come across more charismatic to us if we spoke his language, right? I mean, if we spoke Ukrainian, maybe in Ukrainian he comes across, like, really commanding, but obviously there's a language barrier there.
Knows that he has to kind of be on his feet. So he got some advice on how to do that from Senator Chuck Schumer, Hakeem Jeffries, Governor Kathy Hochul. All of them have had conversations and have a relationship, even if a tense one at times, with President Trump. We know that Mamdani is on his way. He tweeted just a short while ago a selfie from what it looks like the inside of an airplane. There you see him. He says... it was just an airplane emoji, so he is on his way to D.C. But, considering what we know about how these two men have spoken about one another in the last few months, I think there's a lot of people who are going to be closely watching to see how it goes. Take a listen to just how Trump and Mamdani have been talking about each other in recent weeks.
Yep.
It's going to be hard for me as the president to give a lot of money to New York because if you have a communist running New York, all you're doing is wasting the money you're sending there.
I have many disagreements with the president.
Listen to that language. Notice how he says, it's going to be hard for me to do blank because of X reason. Does he normally talk about Democrats that way? Does he say, it's going to be difficult for me to send federal money to California because wacky Gavin's wasting all the water, or whatever? No. Usually he talks vindictively. What he did right there, that's business talk. I don't know about that deal. You're hardballing, right? I don't know about X. What about Y? It's the way he talks when he respects somebody. Again, the difference between the way he's spoken about Putin or Xi Jinping or whatever historically versus the people that he genuinely disrespects. Big, big, big difference. Trump talks big game, but his actions feel kind of dickless. Oh yeah, for sure. I'm not saying he's actually like a principled businessman who with strong convictions or whatever. I'm saying that he's spent his entire life building a fake image of being one. I mean, have you ever read The Art of the Deal? I've read like a couple of chapters, you know. It wasn't written by him, it was ghostwritten, but you definitely get the feel for the kind of persona he spent his entire life building. It's, you know, the Apprentice shit. It's Five stuff.
And I believe that we should be relentless and pursue all avenues and all meetings that could make our city affordable for every single New Yorker. I intend to make it clear to President Trump that I will work with him on any agenda that benefits New Yorkers. If an agenda hurts New Yorkers, I will also be the first to say so.
Now, Sarah, as diametrically opposed as these two men are, I also think that they actually have something in common, and that is they both have figured out a very effective way to communicate with their supporters. These two are from New York. They're both from Queens. I think President Trump sees something in Mamdani that perhaps I would venture to say he admires, you know, the way that he has used social media to really reach out to his supporters. And, you know, his focus on affordability and really what is a populist message that he himself used to get so many of his supporters.
Right. The affordability issue is the economy. It's just another word for it. And that's how Donald Trump got into office himself. This is going to be an.
This clip is insane. It proves your point.
What do you expect when you meet him face to face?
Well, I don't really know. He's got a different philosophy. He's a little bit different. I give him a lot of credit for the run. He did a successful run, and we all.
Jesus Christ. Yeah, right away. Look at that. Think of the way Trump talks about people like Schumer or Hakeem Jeffries, right? He calls them like radical communist lunatics, whatever. Mamdani is significantly to the left of those two. It's all about whether or not he respects you.
We all know that runs are not easy, but I think we'll get along fine. Look, we're looking for the same thing. We want to make New York strong, and you know, there's such a different philosophy. But I'll let you know. I'll let you know over the next year, Brian. Okay?
So I know sometimes when you go to sit down with you, Mr. President, sometimes you'll whip out a list and you'll say, "Did you say this about me in the past?" I know Piers Morgan has said that. This is something that might be on your list that he said about you after he won. By the way, cut 3.
This is not only how we stop Trump, it's how we stop the next one. So Donald Trump, since I know you're watching, I have 4 words for you. Turn the volume up.
So it's a little bit of a in your face when a time he should usually, after a victory speech, be kind of magnanimous. Your thoughts on it?
Well, I was hitting him a little hard, too, in all fairness. I was...
Dude!
You know, hard to be totally friendly toward the opponent. You know, his opponent wasn't. He had some interesting opponents. But he ran a good race. I don't know exactly what he means by turn the volume up, because turn the volume up, he has to be careful when he says that to me. But nobody really was able. I said, what does that mean, turn the volume up? Does that mean let's go at it?
Yeah.
I don't think so. I mean, he was very nice in calling, as you know, and we're going to have a meeting. I guess we meet at 3 o'clock today. And I think it's going to be quite civil. We'll find out. You'll be the first to know.
I know. We'll see it at
I don't think he understands the turn the volume up thing.
3 o'clock. Will you open up the doors to the press after?
I think so. I mean, it's fine with me. I would think so. He's a politician, so I don't think he has a problem. The one thing I noticed about politicians, the answers are...
It does go to show, though, and again, I always bring it back to this point, but it's so important. Strength really is everything. in politics. Your agenda is meaningless if you can't plant your feet in the ground and get it done. You know, at the end of the day, like, my biggest complaint with the Democrats isn't that they're liberals, you know, or at least not principally, or I guess I should say it's not the fact that the principles they supposedly advocate for are liberal. I do have a problem with that, but that's not the main problem. The problem is that the way they advocate for them is so ineffectual that they can't even get that done. Like, they're not even capable of being the liberal opposition, you know? They're weak and cowardly and hypocritical. They can't fight against the fascists for shit. But they turn illiberal the moment it suits them when they're fighting against progressives, you know? It's the fundamental problem, right? And it's one of the reasons why I've always been such a big advocate for, like, at the end of the day, you know, principles are great. You should stick by them, but you need big dick fellas stepping out onto the stage, you know? You need to be able to rally around people. Mamdani's the first shot we got in a long time. I mean, I think it shows pretty clearly right here.
Always, yes, other than with Biden.
So one thing he did say,
Biden didn't open up doors to his brain.
There's one thing he does say that probably will.
Is it because Trump respects his charisma and personal strength, or because Trump's people have been pissing and shitting? It's 100% because Trump respects his charisma and personal strength. 100% Trump's personal deference towards charismatic, strong people. It has nothing to do with strategy, I promise. What does Miller think of Mamdani? Probably fucking hates him. Miller's not as wooed by strength as Trump is.
Won't be great. He says, I never go back to the days when Eric Adams would go on national television and open the door for the NYPD handling civil immigration enforcement. He doesn't expect cooperation between the NYPD and ICE. That's got to be disappointing.
Well, we're going to be talking about it. I just can't imagine that where you have hardcore criminals. This is about
Jesus, man.
Criminals. You know, you can make a case the other way, having to do with others. But
oh my God.
When you have a murderer, when you have
but even before a meeting, Trump is backing down off of, like, you did 5-minute conversation. He's communist now, okay? Mamdani, you know what you need to do.
Known murderer, known rapist, a known whatever it is, drug dealers all over the place. I can't imagine that anybody wants to keep them, but I'll have that discussion with them today, absolutely.
God. Does somebody have a link to the full Brian Kilmeade show episode? Is that hosted on YouTube, or is it hosted on, like, Spotify or something?
An interesting meeting, and what we are all waiting for to see if it is actually going to be made public. We will see. Gloria Pazmino, thank you so much for your great reporting. John.
All right, with us now, Republican strategist Neil Chatterjee and Executive Committee Chair of the New York State Democratic Committee, Christine Quinn, a New York City person through and through. And Christine, let me ask this to you. I know it's the wrong neighborhood. They're both from Queens. But if this were like a West Side Story thing, what happens when the Sharks and the Jets both show up to the Oval Office? What's going to happen today?
And notice how inept, ineffective, and uninformative mainstream media coverage of this meeting is after listening to that from Trump, you know? Like I said, the psychosexual has to be prioritized. Everyone else is like, well, these big opposing ideologies. No, not really, because Trump doesn't have an ideology, right? Mamdani does, and Mamdani's going to be advocating for it, but Trump is just a ball of instinct, basically. Instinct and, I don't know, spite. The dynamic, this is not like an ideological conflict.
Well, I think the ending's going to be very different than it was in the play or the movie. You know, look, the mayor-elect is doing what is customary, going to see the president. The mayor-elect.
I'm astonished the Mamdani Trump meeting isn't being streamed. You shouldn't be. Meetings like this are usually not. This isn't hosting a head of state like when Zelensky came over, in which you have like two big public figures looking to shake hands and smile for the cameras. This is a private meeting between political opponents
in the country, and he's going to take his affordability agenda to the president, and hopefully they will be able to find some common ground, because the mayor-elect has said over and over he'll work with anybody who is committed to making the lives of New Yorkers better and more affordable.
Do you feel, Neil, that that is where the incentive structure is here from a political standpoint? Do both of these men have an incentive to behave and make this a constructive discussion, or are they perhaps incentivized to make it a show?
Our government does this shit when Iran visits, by the way. Breaking, the House of Representatives voted 285 to 98 in favor of a resolution condemning socialism. 86 Democrats joined Republicans in supporting the measure, including Hakeem Jeffries. That's great. Does nothing.
Yeah, look, this is all going to be theater, and maybe not the Sharks and the Jets. My daughter is starring in The Outsiders later today. It's the Socias versus the Greasers. This is going to be pure theater. It is good politics for both of them. For the president, he wants to elevate Mamdani. He wants him to be the face of the National Democrat Party. He wants
low IQ, genuinely, like, never trust mainstream media analysis of the motivation of political figures, especially not Trump. The idea that Trump wants to elevate Mamdani because Mamdani's a weak point for the Democrats is a position that mainstream Democrats and neocons are trying to advance because they think that being an anti-Zionist socialist is an electoral loss for Democrats. Like, the position they're basically trying to front here is him being anti-Israel and him being a progressive leftist. Those are both, like, big vulnerabilities for the Democrats, when, of course, they would be the Democrats' greatest strengths. They would be the things that carried the party to a 1,000-year reign over this country. Never listen to these people.
Wants Republicans to run against Mamdani in the midterms, and this is a way of platforming him, giving him a big stage, putting him on the stage, making him that figure. For the mayor-elect, this is an opportunity to demonstrate fight. That's what the Democrat base wants right now. They want someone who's willing to go toe-to-toe and fight with President Trump. I do think this will be largely theatric. I do think, as was previously mentioned, these guys kind of, have similar approaches, though different ideologies. And I think this is great for both of them, to be totally honest, politically.
All right, if Neil is right, Christine, this is The Outsiders. Will Mamdani stay gold, Pony Boy? If President...
I like how that guy sort of said nothing. The fellow who just spoke? Yeah, oh yeah, for sure.
President Trump does go after him as a constituent here in New York City. Do you want him to rise?
This is kind of what people mean when they say the revolution won't be televised. It's not just there won't be cameras pointing at whatever happens. Of course there will be, right? It's more that the medium of television is incapable of or unwilling to express the range of positions that would be expressed in, like in a time of political upheaval. You see this a lot in countries that are in like really dire turmoil, or that have state media when the state is experiencing some kind of insurrection, right? Which is that the television anchors will continue blathering on as though nothing has changed. They'll speak in old paradigms. Meanwhile, you look outside and everything's totally different. In truth, for mainstream media in America, it's been like that for a long, long time. But that schism is getting wider. Especially, every year, the popularity of the term socialism in this country grows. Obviously, the average American has no idea what socialism actually means. They're stupid. They could be, socialism is subsidized daycare. Socialism is government-run grocery stores. Whatever, they don't fucking know, right? But it does speak to a sentiment, and the sentiment is meaningful.
Is to the occasion. Do you want to see him? Is it more important that he goes toe-to-toe with the president, or is it more important that he charms him and gets what he wants from him?
Well, I think we can all agree his campaign was both Tony Award winning and Academy Award winning. But that said, keeping this theme going, look, I think the mayor-elect is incredibly focused on getting every level of government and every level of society committed to making the biggest city in the country more affordable for everyone. So no matter what your job is, you can have a full, dignified life, a life where your children can do better than you. I think he is going there, with an open heart and open mind to see where they can come together. I don't believe, knowing the mayor-elect, that this is really about theater. It's about trying to get a goal accomplished. We're out of the campaign. We're into governing.
Mm-hmm. So what's interesting is that TRUMP-MAMDANI has been talking about affordability since he launched his campaign, and he's been doing it in a way that connected with voters. Neil, President Trump has been using the word affordability for like a week and doesn't seem to like it. You can see him almost say, they call it affordability. He puts it almost in air quotes there. And it seems to be something the administration is having a challenge discussing. Listen to what J.D. Vance, the vice president, says about this.
Even though we've made incredible progress, we understand that there's a lot more work to do. And the thing that I'd ask for the American people is a little bit of patience. This economy was not harmed in 10 months.
Why is this DNC lady shilling for Mamdani? Because I think that a lot of people in the DNC see the writing on the wall and they want to co-opt his win as some kind of broader coalition for making the country better. Like they want to water it down into like a, well, we're all on the same team after all, and the thing that we want, marginal incremental improvements for all. You know, they want to take credit and they want to fold them into that that dynamic, which, you know, they will certainly try to do. Certainly if he's popular, right? If he stays popular.
So now, Neil, they're saying people have to wait a little bit. While they were running the campaign, it was the type
Isn't that better than being oppositional? Well, it really depends. If they remain oppositional, it makes it easier to identify them as the enemy, which they are, and easier to primary or root out. But of course, them being oppositional means they're usually more willing to act against you. I don't really know. It's the whole like open opposition versus assimilationism argument that's been broiling about in progressive discourse for centuries. I don't know. You know, it's kind of a contextual thing. As a general rule, if a person's associated with the mainstream National Democratic Party, you can just assume they're evil and carve out the exceptions later.
Thing like day one, I'm going to do X, Y, and Z. Now they're going to have to wait. But to what extent do you think that the White House is struggling not with the economy, but with the messaging on the economy?
Yeah, look, they're making missteps, to be totally candid. You know, my background's in energy and electricity. Electricity prices were a huge issue in the November elections in Virginia, in New Jersey. Electricity prices are through the roof. And inexplicably, the administration has been taking steps to create obstacles to the deployment of clean energy, of solar.
Inexplicably, huh?
And battery storage and wind at a time when demand is through the roof and we need every available electron. I think they have time to get it right, but they need to make some shifts on policy. Don't constrain clean energy at a moment in time when we need it. If you want to bring down electricity prices, let's unleash all of the above energy.
Stupid. These fucking CNN political analysts. We're waiting for Mamdani and Trump to leave the Oval Office and be bombarded with questions.
The gentleman was talking about the trade when they stand, because his camera's over there. They have a 4 o'clock.
I disagree with you on constant support for Mamdani, though. The pressure from the base is necessary for him to get shit through. Sorry, but on this, you're absolutely incorrect. Pressure is, in this context, being used as a virtue signal. You feel like you want to advocate for your position or push back when you think he's not doing enough. But pressure only works if it's politically effective. There's nothing that you can do that would outweigh the two main forces that guide what Mamdani does, which are his principles and what he finds he can actually do. You need to support him, and the consequences of you not supporting him is that the math on what he's capable of doing changes. If he has support, he can get away with doing bolder stuff. If he doesn't have support, if he has fair weather fan base, you know, that tears into him every time he does something practical or makes a compromise, the math changes. He's not able to do those big bold steps. Unfortunately, and this is the thing that pisses a lot of lefties off, power means a concession of your will to the people above you capable of doing something. It means trust. You know, I know that sucks because we like our direct democracy and our hyper fastidious micromanaging of everyone above us. But in reality, no, that's not really power then. If you say a person has the right to do something, but then you step over their shoulder and criticize every action that they take, you haven't really given them anything except the responsibility over any failures they make. You have to make a critical judgment of whether or not your trust is warranted. Right now, I think Mamdani has more than earned our trust. He's the most promising politician we've seen in a very, very long time, you know? And I think we have to work with that. And that math can change in the future. If he consistently disappoints and it doesn't seem like there's a good reason for it, then you can adjust your expectation, you know? But I don't think there's any political benefit whatsoever to going after him for every perceived mistake. Especially because when lefties online perceive mistakes, unfortunately, they're usually stupid and don't understand the broader game. For example, exactly 0% of the lefties that I've seen criticizing him for keeping Commissioner Tisch on seem to understand why he's doing that. You know? It would be one thing to disagree with his with his decision, having considered all the factors involved. But a lot of the people who are criticizing him genuinely don't seem to understand what the stakes are or why he's doing it. So their criticisms are meaningless, you know? They should just be quiet and trust. Their quiet support is worth a lot more than their uninformed criticism. Does this apply to AOC too? Yes, everything I just said applies to AOC. And like I said with Zohran-Mamdani, you can adjust that math as you're disappointed over and over again. And I have with her. I mean, it's been years and years and years. Mamdani hasn't even been inaugurated yet, you know? But AOC's been around for a little while now. If Mamdani does nothing but disappoint me for 6 years, then yeah, my position on him will probably change. Don't worry. Didn't Kyle criticize him in a recent video? Why are you asking me what another person said? Do you have any idea how many videos Kyle puts out? Jesus Christ, I haven't told people not to critique power. I've said that if you have a good candidate who you want to get stuff done, you need to support them, not, you know, sit behind them and criticize them every time you disagree with something they do. Critique power is one of those useless syllogisms that gets bandied about by completely powerless people. Poverty-stricken queer people all living in 8-member household polycules. What I care about is practical outcomes, you know? It's like mutual aid. It's fun. It rolls off the tongue. I'm interested in real outcomes here. And the real outcome that I see is that there are already people lining up to preemptively take the L after Mamdani got a historic victory. You know? I'm not going to get woke-splained into, you know, signing my own death warrant here. Happy birthday, Richard Palace. I think you know. Whoa.
And then I just realized, like, I couldn't just get like a 12 bar. Right.
I agree, Dr. Bull. What about Ken Klippenstein's criticism of Mamdani keeping Tish? I don't know everyone's opinion on everything. Why do you guys talk like this? Why do you assume? I already told you guys, I spent 7 hours yesterday laughing at Grok talking about Elon drinking industrial quantities of hog semen, okay? Look, what's the age people start to learn theory of mind? You know that just because you've seen something online, that doesn't mean I've also seen something online. I need to see it myself to have an opinion on it.
Got it. You need help with that?
Andrew, do you want a box to sit on?
Sure.
Sure,
I just have
Ken.
to give it back because it's for some.
Yeah, please.
Is that helpful? Should be like short enough so you can at least sit.
So anyway, it's a private meeting? Yes, it's a private meeting, but afterwards, one or both of them will talk to the press. I'm not sure if it's one or both of them.
Feel more comfortable.
You know, I'm so used to crowd.
Is that a little better? It's better than like the ground.
It's this one? It's a whole article? I'm not reading that shit right now. I'm on stream. If the article is pointing out that Commissioner Tish is a bad woman, then obviously yes. Mamdani isn't keeping her on because he thinks she's a good person. It's pretty obvious I saw an interview between him and Mehdi Hassan. The way he talks about keeping her on, it's very obviously not because he's like personally impressed by her credentials or history. Police commissioner for the NYPD. Very powerful woman. Huh? Okay. What are we up to? Hello? Sure. Ominous. Just switch the feed while the other camera guy's walking around. What are we... I think the Associated Press unintentionally switched the camera feed a little bit too early.
Facing desk.
The desk?
He's at the desk.
Evan?
Facing, he'll be at the desk. Yeah.
What's that?
Yes.
Are they across from each other? How are they?
I don't know. There's people behind the desk.
There's people behind. So we're going to, the press is going to cross over.
This is quite cinematic, don't you think?
Look at that, he's at the desk.
Analog horror slot.
Heads up.
Okay. Okay. Who? Somebody at the Associated Press, like media office, is hitting button. Someone's getting deep-dicked, nasty style back there, and their ass keeps hitting the fucking switch camera feed button. Hello, you two. Hello.
That's cool, right?
I guess we're going in. So they must have gotten the word they wanted to do this inside.
Well, thank you very much. We've just had a great meeting, a really good, very productive meeting. We have one thing in common. We want this city of ours that we love to do very well. And I wanted to congratulate the mayor. He really ran an incredible race against, a lot of smart people, starting with the early primaries against some very tough people, very smart people. And he beat them easily, and I congratulated him. And we talked about some things in very strong common, like housing and getting housing built, and food and prices, and the price of oil is coming way down. Anything I do is going to be good for New York. If I can get prices down, it's good for New York. And we've got them down, way down from last year. We have, as you know, I've been saying to a lot of people, Walmart said that Thanksgiving this year is exactly 25% less than last year. So that's good for New York, good for everybody. But I just want to congratulate. I think you're going to have, hopefully, a really great mayor. The better he does, the happier I am, I will say. There's no...
Absolute victory. Complete, overwhelming victory.
Difference in party. There's no difference in anything. And we're going to be helping him to make everybody's dream come true, having a strong and very safe New York. And congratulations, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you.
I appreciate it.
Please.
I appreciated the meeting with the president, and as he said, it was a productive meeting focused on a place of shared admiration and love, which is New York City, and the need to deliver affordability to New Yorkers, the 8.5 million people who call our city their home, who are struggling to afford life in the most expensive city in the United States of America. We spoke about rent, we spoke about groceries, we spoke about utilities, we spoke about the different ways in which people are being pushed out, and I appreciated the time with the president. I appreciated the conversation. I look forward to working together to deliver that affordability for New Yorkers.
Thank you very much. Any questions, please?
President Trump, Stephen Nelson from the New York Post. I've got a question for you and then also one for Mayor-elect.
Sure.
For you, you referred to Mr. Mamdani as a communist. Can you describe why you feel that way? And also, will you do anything to stop him from arresting Prime Minister Netanyahu if he visits New York?
New York Post is like, what the fuck? They can't be friends?
Well, we didn't discuss your second part of the question. And on your first part, I mean, he's got views that are a little out there, but who knows? I mean, we're going to see what works, or he's going to change also. We all change. I changed a lot. Changed a lot from when I first came to office. It's now quite a while ago. It's quite a while. My first term was great. We had the greatest economy in the history of our country. We're doing even better now. We're doing much better now than we did even the first term. And I can tell you some of my views have changed. And we had discussions on some things. I'm not going to discuss what they were, but that I feel very confident that he can do a very good job. I think he's going to be. I think he is going to surprise some conservative people. Actually.
Oh my fucking god! Oh my god! It's better than I could have hoped for. Oh my fucking god, man!
Liberal people, he won't surprise them because they already like him.
And Mr. Mamdani, it sounds like you had a productive discussion, but just days ago you referred to President Trump as a despot who betrayed the country. You said you would be his worst nightmare and accused him of having a fascist agenda. Are you planning to retract any of these remarks in order to improve your relationship?
I think both President Trump and I, we are very clear about our positions and our views, and what I really appreciate about the president is that the meeting that we had focused not on places of disagreement, which there are many, and also focused on the shared purpose that we have in serving New Yorkers. And frankly, that is something that could transform the lives of the 8.5 million people who are currently struggling under a cost of living crisis, with 1 in 4 living in poverty. And
notice how every time Mamdani is challenged on criticisms that he's made of Trump, he doesn't walk them back at all. But whenever anything negative about Mamdani is said to Trump, Trump is like, well, you know, we're like this and da-da-da. He walks it down. Oh my fucking god, man. The Democrats got so lucky with this one. They don't even fucking see it. They don't even see it, man. Oh my god.
The meeting came back again and again to what it could look like to lift those New Yorkers out of struggle and start to deliver them a city that they could do more than just struggle to afford it, but actually start to live in it.
And I've been called much worse than a despot, so it's not that.
Steps in! And he steps in of his own volition. Nobody made him. Oh my god.
Insulting. Maybe I think he'll change his mind after we get to working together. Yes, please.
Mr. President, from MTV Lebanon.
Good.
I would like to ask you a question about the Middle East regarding
sure.
You said that Hezbollah in Lebanon is not in a good position. And Lebanon now is the final unresolved after Gaza and Syria. Given your assessment, like, what do you say for the Lebanese today? It's in the independent state of Lebanon. And what is your next move to push toward disarmament?
Sure. Well, we are pushing for total disarmament of Hamas and, frankly, everybody else. And we actually have peace in the Middle East. As you know, the King of Saudi Arabia just left yesterday. We had some great meetings, and he's made a contribution toward the United States of more than $1 trillion. We have now over $20 trillion coming in. No country has ever had anything like that, not even close. If you go to 2 trillion or 1 trillion, it's a lot. We have 20 or 21 trillion dollars. I think that Hezbollah has been a problem in Lebanon, big problem. We're working with Lebanon. We're working with everybody in the Middle East. That's another thing I think we have in common. We want to see peace in the Middle East, and we actually have now, for the first time, peace in the Middle East after 3,000 years. And now we're going to refine it, and I think you're going to see some very positive things happen.
There is a potential to invite the Lebanese president.
Oh, sure. Oh, I would do that, absolutely. And if the mayor would like to be here for that meeting, because I know he feels very strongly. I think you feel very, very strongly about peace in the Middle East. I think
we desperately want it, and that's something that I shared with the president, that when I spoke to...
He's going to be our fucking unofficial peace envoy, man. It's going to, purely through wooing Trump, he's going to be the main point of contact.
New Yorkers who had voted for the president last November on Hillside Avenue and Fordham Road, I asked them why. I heard again and again 2 major reasons. One was that they wanted an end to forever wars. They wanted an end to the taxpayer dollars we had funding violations of human rights, and they wanted
to address the cost of living crisis. And I appreciated the chance to discuss both of those things.
He said a lot of my voters actually voted for him, and I'm okay with that. I'll do that. I'll sign it. Give it to me. I'll sign it in a minute. That's pretty good.
Mr. President.
Yeah,
you threatened to send federal troops to New York City. You both have differences when it comes to ICE agents in New York City. Mr. Mamdani, you called ICE a rogue government entity. I wonder how you reconcile your differences on both of those issues.
Well, I think we're going to work them out, and I think that if we have known murderers and known drug dealers and some very bad people, you know, we want to get them out. And the mayor wants to have peace. We discussed this at great length, actually, maybe more than anything else. He wants to have a safe New York. Ultimately,
liberals prepping the ropes, seeing the power of one socialist in power. You get one guy in a municipal election, not even inaugurated yet, and the fascist president is down on both knees. Unbelievable. I really do think, I mean, a lot of this is just Trump's personality. It's not like a broader political thing. There's no rule that says fascist national leaders kowtow to charismatic socialists. Hitler was a fascist national leader, and the charismatic socialists were, you know, shot. I think in Trump's case specifically, though, it's a reveal on like the strategic misplay the Democrats have waged over and over and over again. Their dickless, corporate, insincere neoliberalism is nothing to Trump. Nothing. He doesn't respect it at all. So he doesn't treat them like actual like power players, you know? Remember when, I think somebody in chat mentioned this a little while ago, remember when Trump said that he was surprised Democrats weren't mounting more of a resistance against him? He was actually just open, he was like openly acknowledging, I thought I'd get more of a fight out of him. To be honest, it's kind of disappointing, you know? It just goes to show how much like how much personality plays a role in all this. And it's kind of crazy. Oh God, there's going to be a bunch of like lefty discourse. No, it's not going to be lefty discourse. It's going to be like lib discourse, where they say that Mamdani is capitulating to the right, and the fact that he got along with Trump is evidence that they're actually not. It's going to happen, man. It's going to happen.
Safe New York is going to be a great New York. If it's not safe, no matter how well we do with pricing and with anything else, we can talk about anything you want. If you don't have safe streets, it's not going to be a success. So we're going to work together. We're going to make sure that if there are horrible people there, we want to get them out. I think he wants to get them out, maybe more than I do. So we'll work together. We discussed it at great length. Yes, please.
Yeah, two questions, if I may. One for you, Mr. President, from BBC in a second. But first of all, for the mayor-elect. You're both from different parts of the political spectrum. You're both populists, though. And I just wondered to what extent the president's campaign style, his techniques, his social media use inspired any part of your campaign?
Well, I actually told the president that, you know, so much of the focus of our campaign has been on the cost of living crisis. And when we asked those New Yorkers who had voted for the president, when we saw an increase in his numbers in New York City, that came back to the same issue: cost of living, cost of living, cost of living. And they spoke about the cost of groceries, the cost of rent, the cost of Con Ed, the cost of childcare. And too often politicians are looking to lecture to New Yorkers what they should care about as opposed to listen. And when we spoke to those voters who voted for President Trump, we heard them speak about cost of living. We focus on that same cost of living, and that's where I am really looking forward to.
Wouldn't want to be a prostitute in the vicinity of Stephen Miller today. That's so mean.
Delivering for New Yorkers in partnership with the president on the affordability agenda.
And I think we have to work a little bit. We talked about Con Edison. We have to work a little bit on getting the prices, because, you know, we've gotten fuel prices way down.
Check this freezer.
But it hasn't shown up in Con Edison. And we're going to have to talk to them. You know, if we're sending them fuel at a much lower price than it was a year ago, which is true, we have to get Con Edison to start lowering their rates.
Absolutely.
And if I may, last week you told me you were pushing ahead with your plans to sue BBC for up to $5 billion. You're going to speak to Prime Minister Starmer as well. Is there any progress or any updates on those issues?
Well, we get along very well with the Prime Minister. We made a deal with UK. I like him. He's a fine person. And, you know, I think they have some big energy problems. You know, they've got windmills all over the place. They're going to have to start using other methods because their energy is out of control. Talking about in the UK, it's out of control. And he's got that problem. He's got a big immigration problem, as you know, and he's got a big energy problem. And we talk about it. He's a good man. Prime Minister's a good man.
You had a chance to speak this week.
I haven't spoken this week.
Mr. President, have you spoken to President Zelensky, or do you intend to meet President Zelensky about your plan? Are you going to meet with him?
I've spoken with their people. We have a plan. It's horrible what's happening. It's a war that should have never happened. It would have never happened if I was president, and it's a shame. And I thought they should have acted quicker. But it's a cold winter, and a lot of the you talk about utilities, but a lot of the big energy-producing plants have been under attack, to put it mildly, to put it nicely. Yeah, we have a way of getting peace, or we think we have a way of getting peace. He's going to have to approve it.
Yeah, we'll do the Ukraine thing in a bit.
People. You know, last month they lost 25,000 soldiers. This is
I don't give a shit about this non-Mamdani
stuff. Second World War. And they're averaging 6,000 or 7,000 a week between the two of them, dead soldiers. And it goes on and on. And I think they're getting reasonably close, but I don't want to predict. I would have said that would have been one of my early ones. I did 8 peace deals of countries, including in India, Pakistan. You could even go, in fact, they're coming here in a week or two, go to the Congo and Rwanda. That was 10 million people dead, and we worked something out on that. But so many, and the one I thought would have been, for me, because I have a very good relationship with President Putin, I thought that would have been maybe quicker. But it does take 2 to tango. And now you just see all the death. And, you know, it doesn't affect us other than the fact that we don't want to see all those people that really it's on the other side of the ocean. It's a war that should have never happened. It did happen. I blame the person also sitting right behind this desk. This is a war that should have never happened, and it wouldn't have happened if I were president. Mr. President. But we're trying to save a lot of lives.
Let's get you back into bed.
They're losing 25,000 lives over the last short period of time. That's Ukrainian and Russian, and it's a shame.
What happens if I want to ask the mayor-elect about a House resolution just passed overwhelmingly to condemn socialism, including with 86 Democrats, all of House Dem leadership, and the minority leader, Hakeem Jeffries, despite his endorsement of you. What's your reaction to that?
I have to be honest with you, I focused very little on resolutions. Frankly, I've been focusing...
Socialism.
I understand. I think the focus is on the work at hand. I can tell you I am someone who is a democratic socialist. I've been very open about that. And I know there might be differences about ideology, but the place of agreement is the work that needs to be done to make New York City affordable. That's what I look forward to.
And I want to clarify your answer to Stephen Nelson. Mm-hmm. He asked about your comment calling the president a fascist. And your answer was, both President Trump and I have been clear about our positions and our views. Mm-hmm. Are you affirming that you think President Trump is a fascist?
They want to drive a wedge in between this so fucking badly, man. There are so many chuds in right-wing media who are aware of the fact that Trump is a psychological weak point for the movement because he's incredibly easy to manipulate, right? Because he's very easily wooed. But they don't understand, and they're never going to win this way. The reason Trump is smirking right now is because in Trump's mind, he has already solidified an unbreakable bond of camaraderie with a fellow strongman, Mamdani. This is something that cannot be interrupted or interfered with by weak women journalists, you know? No, I mean it. I'm not being facetious. In his mind, once he has that perception locked in, he sees Mamdani as, if not an equal, at the very least, of the same cloth. And therefore, anything that denigrates him implicitly denigrates Trump, you know?
Spoken about...
That's okay, you can just say yes.
Okay.
Oh my fucking God. Just ignore her. Can't accuse me of having pre-watched. We're watching it live. What did he say? Go back. He essentially said you can ignore her.
President Trump and I have been clear about our positions and our views. Mm-hmm. Are you affirming that you think President Trump is a fascist?
I've spoken about...
That's okay, you can just say yes.
Okay.
You can just say yes.
It's easier. It's easier than explaining it. I don't mind.
And Mr. President, I wanted to ask you also about this Ukraine plan.
Yeah.
President Zelensky said today that his country would risk either giving up a partner or giving up its dignity. There's been criticism that this deal...
You mean he doesn't like it?
It's unclear. He was sort of pretending...
He'll have to like it, and if he doesn't like it, then, you know, they should just keep fighting, I guess, you know?
The suggestion that he made, though, was that if he doesn't accept it, that the U.S. would pull back its support for Ukraine. Is that
Well, at some point he's going to have to accept something. You know, he hasn't accepted. You remember right in the Oval Office not so long ago, I said, you don't have the cards. Don't forget, I inherited this war. I would have never, this war never would have happened. I inherited this war. And I thought he should have made a deal a year ago, 2 years ago. The ultimate deal would have been if it never started. That would have been the good deal. That could have been done.
This
too,
is
if you had
way
the right
crazier
president.
than I
If you didn't have
expected,
the right
to be clear.
president.
I had guessed some version of this would happen, not this, you know?
Cost of living is something that you and Mr. Mamdani seem to agree on.
Right.
Democrats have run New York City for a long time, Mr. Mamdani. Do you see Democrat policy specifically as being a problem? And I'd like that to be a question that both of you could answer in New York City.
Look, I think that there are many things in our city where we have to own the responsibility of it, things that existed long before the president was the president. And those are also part of the message of our campaign, was to take on a broken politics of the past. And I ran against a number of candidates who represented different versions of that past. And what we found time and again is that working people were left behind in the politics of our city. And what we're looking to do is put those people right back at the heart of our politics so that we don't have a situation where we're in the wealthiest city in the history of the world, and yet 1 in 5 can't even afford $2.90 for a Metro card.
Mr. President,
You know, we had some interesting conversation, and some of his ideas really are the same ideas that I have. But a big thing on cost, you know, the new word is affordability. Another word is just groceries. You know, it's sort of an old-fashioned word, but it's very accurate. And they're coming down high. They were, you know, we had, both of us, we had the highest inflation in the history of our country the last 4 years under the Biden administration, and we've got inflation down now to a normal number. It's going to go even a little bit lower than that. Katie, do you have something?
Mr. President, thank you so much. Mr. Mamdani often talks about New York City being covered by international law, that they will follow international law. He doesn't often talk about the U.S. Constitution. What is your response to that?
Well, I don't know what you're referring to in terms of it could be covered by international law, local law. It's covered by a lot of laws, but it's covered by U.S. law. Are you referring to anything in particular?
He just says that they're a city that endorses and enforces international law. Is that at odds with?
No, I don't know. Would you want to? Do you want to respond?
Yeah, I think what I've shared with the president is our desire to not only follow the laws of our own city, laws that protect New Yorkers, but also a desire for consistency in our politics across the board. And that's something that we've talked about and something that I know many New Yorkers want.
We
discussed ICE and New York City, and I spoke about how the laws that we have in New York City allow for New York City government to speak to the federal administration for about 170 serious crimes. The concerns that many New Yorkers have are around the enforcement of immigration laws on New Yorkers across the 5 boroughs, and most recently we're talking about a mother and her 2 children, how this has very little to do with what that is.
What we did is we discussed crime. More than ICE per se, we discussed crime. And he doesn't want to see crime, and I don't want to see crime. And I have very little doubt that we're not going to get along on that issue. He wants to, and he said some things that were very interesting as to housing construction, and he wants to see houses go up. He wants to see a lot of houses created, a lot of apartments built, etc. And you know, we actually people would be shocked, but I want to see the same thing.
Mr. Mamdani, anti-Israel protesters.
Jack?
Mr. President, I want to know, one of the policies as well that Mayor-elect Mamdani talked a number of times about on the campaign was shifting the tax burden for property taxes from what he called minority communities to white-based communities and putting more taxes on white people. I also noticed that in your acceptance speech you didn't mention anything about America or Christians or white people in general, and so I didn't know if that was one of the policies that you guys had spoken about.
We focused on affordability. We focused on the cost of living crisis. What I will say is that I am very much interested in property tax reform, because what we see right now in New York City is a system that is so inequitable that it can't even stand up in court. And the president and I spoke about the importance of not only building more housing, but also making sure that regulation of housing is something that is manageable to actually get through and not the cause of yet another weight that we see in our city.
To be clear, you're continuing this idea of race-based property taxes.
No, to be very clear,
that's what you said.
No, the use of the term was a description of neighborhoods, not a description of intent.
So you intend to tax the whiter neighborhoods more?
No, we intend to create a fair property tax system because we want a New York City that is not only fair and equitable, but also one that every New Yorker can afford.
You can tell they're really fucking mad at how much Trump likes Mamdani. The New York Post, Newsweek, the chuds in the room, they're really mad. There are going to be so many people after this who try to pull Trump away from Mamdani, and I think it's going to have the opposite of the intended effect. I think that this is like a lifelong deference that Mamdani is cemented in Trump. It makes a lot of sense if you think about it, right? Like Donald Trump, his entire life, he's been like the brash businessman, wheel and deal, shake hands, so on and so forth. But for the last decade of his life, Trump hasn't really had any equals, right? He's been the unambiguous head of the Republican Party, and everyone who's challenged him has either been some quivering neocon, basically a neoliberal, right? Weak, ineffectual, driven by, consultancy, or a sycophant. Like all the people in his current cabinet, who he clearly doesn't respect, by the way. He obviously does not respect J.D. Vance, Pam Bondi, Kristi Noem. Like, they're not even like pawns to him because he doesn't really like boss them around that much. They're underlings. They're like interns to him, He hasn't had a relationship like this in a long time.
Please, God.
Mr. Mamdani, anti-Israel protesters just targeted a synagogue in New York. Are you concerned about Jewish New Yorkers feeling welcome and safe in the city? And President Trump, you threatened to cut off federal funding to New York City. What policies would prompt you to do that? Would that be city-run grocery stores? Would it be something else?
Well, I think if we didn't get along, whether it's cut off or just make it a little bit difficult or not give as much, we want to see, I use the term, we don't want good money going after bad. And we don't want that to happen. I don't think that's going to happen. I did say that, subject to what policies are being set. We had a meeting today that actually surprised me. He wants to see no crime. He wants to see housing being built. He wants to see rents coming down, all things that I agree with. Now, we may disagree how we get there. The rent coming down, I think one of the things I really gleaned very much today, he'd like to see him come down, ideally, by building a lot of additional housing. Yeah. That's the ultimate way. He agrees with that, and so do I. But if I read the newspapers and the stories, I don't hear that. But I heard him say it today, and I think that's a very positive step. No, I don't expect. I expect to be helping him, not hurting him. A big help, because I want New York City to be great. Look, I love New York City. It's where I come.
Mamdani, you have a mandate like no one else has ever had before. Get Trump to direct all federal funds reserved for red states and pour them into New York City, okay? Give New York City a GDP per capita previously reserved for fake countries like Liechtenstein, all right? Just everything, okay? It's time to let Mississippi rot, all right? We gotta cut them off, okay? We gotta cut the tumors off. Just bring everything in.
I spent a lot of years there. Now I'm right here. We took a big setback with the mayor that we had, Dave de Blasio. I thought it was a tremendous setback for the city. I think this mayor can do some things that are going to be really great.
Mr. President,
okay, how about you? Go ahead, please.
You're a billionaire. You have a different address nowadays than you used to, but you used to call New York City home. Would you feel comfortable living in New York City under a Mamdani administration?
Yeah, I would. I really would.
Oh, my God.
Absolutely.
What makes you comfortable?
We agree on a lot more than I would have thought. I think I want him to do a great job, and we'll help him do a great job. He may have different views, but in many ways, we were discussing when Bernie Sanders was out of the race, I picked up a lot of his votes, and people had no idea, because he was strong on not getting ripped off in trade and lots of the things that I've practiced and been very successful on. Tariffs, a lot of things. Bernie Sanders and I agreed on much more than people thought. And when he was put out of the race, I think quite unfairly, if you want to know the truth, many of the Bernie Sanders voters voted for me. And
mind you, Trump has always respected Bernie as well. Genuinely, just the having an actual backbone gets you a long way in politics. Being a weak little sycophant, you know, consultant fuck only works with other weak sycophantic consultant fucks. It doesn't work that well with people who are personality driven.
Very comfortable, frankly, in seeing that and saying that, and you know, it just turned out to be a statistical truth. But no, I feel very comfortable. I would feel very, very comfortable being in New York, and I think much more so after the meeting. Yes, please.
Thank you, Mr. President. I have a question for you, but a very quick one for the mayor. Why did you fly here? Aren't trains greener?
That was the cuntiest fucking question I've ever heard in my entire life. They hate him so much. They hate him so fucking much. Quiet, Piggy.
I'll use every form of transit, and I want to make sure that they're all affordable in New York City, and that's why making buses fast and free is a centerpiece of our campaign.
There is a bus that goes.
Well, but I know, but if you flew, that's a lot quicker too.
That's a stupid question. That's a stupid question, and you're a woman.
I mean, he's working very hard. For him to be, that's a very long drive. I'll stick up for you. You know, the plane takes you 30 minutes and driving takes...
Back off my man!
Clear up some confusion around a Washington Post report. There was this explosive report that the Coast Guard is no longer going to characterize swastikas and nooses as hate symbols. DHS called that a lie and fake news. Can you clear up...
I don't know anything about it. When was this written?
Yesterday?
Well, look, the Coast Guard's an incredible group of people. I know them very well. We just ordered a lot of new Coast Guard cutters. Beautiful, the most magnificent ship. They look like yachts with lots of guns on them. So I don't know. I haven't seen any report like that, but certainly we want them to remain a great force, and they are.
Mr. President, and you did the piece in all the 9 months around the world. I would like to ask Mr. Mamdani, you've accused the U.S. government of committing genocide in Gaza while President Trump was working on peace. Why that?
I've spoken about the Israeli government committing genocide, and I've spoken about our government funding it. And I shared with the president in our meeting about the concern that many New Yorkers have of wanting their tax dollars to go towards the benefit of New Yorkers and their ability to afford basic dignity. And what we see right now is we're in the 9th consecutive year of more than 100,000 school children being homeless in our city. And there's a desperate need not only for the following of human rights, but also the following through on the promises we've made to New Yorkers. And I appreciated the meeting we had and the work that we can do.
Do you agree that President Trump did do a peace and work hard to make the peace? Because he worked hard.
They're so desperate to tear them apart. I'm telling you, this is only going to cement Trump. And Trump, like 3 times now, has responded to a divisive question from one of these hack journalists by like blowing it off, basically, you know?
In the Middle East and everywhere. Do you agree with that?
I appreciate all efforts towards peace, and I shared with President Trump that when I spoke to Trump voters on Hillside Avenue, including one of whom was a pharmacist that spoke about how President Trump's father actually went to that pharmacy not too far from Jamaica Estates, that people were tired of seeing our tax dollars fund endless wars. And I also believe that we have to follow through on the international human rights, and I know that still today those are being violated, and that continues to be work that has to be done no matter where we're speaking of.
Mr. President,
thank you, Mr. President. Do you view the mayor-elect as the true leader of the Democrat Party? And do you think Leader Schumer and Leader Jeffries, have to follow his lead?
Well, look, I hope they have great leaders. This is a man that right now I think is focused on New York City. I really think he has a chance to do a great job. We're going to help him, but I really think he has a chance to do a great job. But I'll let you answer that. You consider yourself the leader of the Democrats. I think it's more appropriate for him.
I consider myself the next mayor of New York City, and I keep my horizons firmly on New York City, and I appreciate the meeting with the president, which focused again on the 5 boroughs and whether New Yorkers could afford to live there.
By the way, being the mayor of New York City is a big deal.
Absolutely.
I always said, one of the things I would love to be someday is the mayor of New York City. Being the mayor of New York, and especially now, because I think you're at really a turning point, one way or the other. You could go great, or it can go in a different direction. And I think you really have a chance to make it great. I appreciate what you're saying.
Mr. President, you say you love New York City. Mr. Mamdani, does New York City love President Trump?
New York City loves a future that is affordable. And I can tell you that there were more New Yorkers who voted for President Trump in the most recent presidential election because of that focus on cost of living. And I'm looking forward to working together to deliver on that affordability agenda.
Jesus Christ, he's a fucking machine. Oh my God, it's I can't believe it. He's moving so fast. I can't even see his hands move. Oh my God.
I got a lot of votes. One more. Go ahead. One or two more. Go ahead. I tell you, the press has eaten this thing up. You know, I've had a lot of meetings with the heads of major countries. Nobody cared. This meeting that you people have gone crazy. You know, outside you have.
I told you, the more they try to pull him apart, the more Trump is going to get cynical. Trump knows he's surrounded by parasites, vultures, sycophants. He's been aware of this his entire life. It's common to the lives of many like powerful and wealthy people. He sees it.
Hundreds of people waiting. This is just a small little group. For some reason, the press has found this to be a very interesting meeting. The biggest people in the world, they come over from countries nobody cares. But they did care about this meeting, and it was a great meeting. Go ahead.
Yeah, Mr. President, I was going to ask you exactly that. Why do you think there's so much more, so much excitement around this than in some form?
Because I think he's different. All right? I think he's different. And that can be in a very positive way, but I think he's different than, your typical guy, runs, wins, becomes mayor maybe, and nothing exciting. Because he has a chance to really do something great for New York. New York is at a very critical point. And he does need the help of the federal government to really succeed. And we're going to be helping him. But he's different than, your average candidate. Hey, he came out of nowhere. I said he has a great campaign manager standing over there. He came out of nowhere. What'd you start off at 1 or 2?
Even complimenting his fucking team.
Who is this guy? He was at 1, then he was at 3, then he was at 5, then he was at 9. Then he went up to 17. I said, that's getting a little bit interesting, right? And then all of a sudden he wins a primary that nobody expected he was going to win. It's a great tribute. I mean, it's an amazing thing that he did.
And I'll just add one thing to what the president said. Is one thing I also appreciated is in our meeting to appreciate a portrait of FDR and the incredible work that was done with the New Deal, and also in thinking about what it can look like when the federal government and New York City government work together to deliver on affordability. It can be transformative.
Does Trump see himself in Mamdani? Listen, I'm going to tell you this much. I know this much for sure, 100% absolute fact. It's a good thing there were no cameras on in their private meeting, because Mamdani was talking there in a way he could not talk with the cameras on him. Trump acts the same whether or not the cameras are on him. I guarantee you that he had to level with Trump directly in a way that he could not do if he was on the record. 100%. Well, he's on the record in the congressional archives, but he's not on the record like to the press. Absolutely. Like, say what? I think that if I had to take a guess, I would say that Mamdani played hard into the we're both big men trying to do our best thing. Like, basically talk down the media, talk down the Democrats, talk down the Republicans, talk down like everyone else. Everyone's just following what other people tell them to do. We're big men. We know what we're doing. We're just trying to make our play. And it's why, because like, again, he understands Trump is not ideologically motivated. It's all personal for him, He needs that sense of like chauvinistic camaraderie. But Mamdani couldn't get away with saying stuff like that in front of the camera because it would come across as too Machiavellian, it would like, oh, it's not about New York then, is it? It's about you and your big power place. Well, he has to say what he has to say to Trump, okay? It's a high stakes meeting.
We have a great portrait of FDR that I found in the vaults that was missing for years. I found it and I put it up. He's a Democrat, to the best of my knowledge. He's a Democrat. And when the mayor saw that portrait, he said, "Sir, do you mind if I have a picture taken by that portrait?" It's an amazing portrait. I hope the picture comes out good. But it's an amazing portrait in the cabinet room. So he's a big fan of the New Deal, I guess, and of FDR. Yes.
Trump glazing FDR for Mamdani's Peak W. Trump has glazed FDR before. Again, he respects power, and FDR had the biggest presidential mandate ever, basically, save for Washington, I suppose. Lincoln, I mean, it was a big mandate, He said before he wants to be FDR, yeah, for sure. No, he loves that, 100%.
Thank you, Mr. President. You said that you both spoke about crime.
Yeah.
There are many police officers set to come off the rolls at the end of this year in New York City. Are you going to allow those police to be replaced with police officers, actual cops? And are you going to require that happens? Would there be some consequence?
Well, I hope it happens, but again, that's going to be ultimately the mayor's decision.
What's your answer?
is that I look forward to delivering public safety with the NYPD, and I've said over the course of our campaign that we have the number of police officers today. They are the ones that's budgeted about 35,000 headcount. And I think the key thing is that we have to make it easier for police to focus on police work, not ask them to respond to 200,000 mental health calls a year.
So is that a reduction from what you're at right now? Are you committing to maintaining the same level of cops?
I've committed over the course of the campaign to maintain the 35,000. That's the headcount that we had through the campaign.
And not replace them with caseworkers, social workers?
No, I've said that's the headcount that we want. What we need to do is make sure they can focus on serious crime.
And he just retained a great police commissioner, I believe, right?
Yes, we did, Commissioner Fish.
If the newspapers are correct.
That one they're correct about.
He retained, I think, somebody that is a...
That one they're correct about. They definitely both slandered the media. Because Trump thinks that the media lies about him, which, I mean, I'm sure they do to some extent, but by and large, it's the truth. And the media does lie about Mamdani. They definitely talked about that.
She's a good friend of some of the people in my family, of Ivanka, and they say she's really good, really competent, and he just retained her, so that's a good sign.
Are there still topics that you see that you're disagreeing on in the future, and do you think you'll have more meetings like this?
There will be topics that we disagree on. I think we'll probably come to a conclusion, and ultimately, he'll convince me, or I'll convince him. You know, it's for the good of New York. Ultimately, it's for the good of New York. I don't care about affiliations or parties or anything else. I want to see if this city could be unbelievable, if he could be a spectacular success, I'd be very happy.
Do you think you guys will meet more in the future, too?
Excuse me?
Do you think you'll meet again in the future, you know, throughout the administration?
I think we will. Yeah. I think we will. I hope we do. I enjoyed the meeting. We had a great meeting. Please.
Mr. President, Republican Elise Stefanik has campaigned multiple times by calling Zohran Mamdani a jihadist. Do you think you're standing next to a jihadist right now in the Oval Office?
No, I don't, but she's out there campaigning, and, you know, you say things sometimes in a campaign.
Isn't that sort of...
She's a
God.
Very capable person, but you really have to ask her about that. But you know, I don't particularly. I think I met with a man who's a very rational person. I met with a man who really wants to see New York be great again. And I can say again, because New York was great. You know, when I came down to Washington initially, the city was so hot. It was doing great. We were having some telltale signs of problems. We had a mayor that was not doing a great job, but still, it was moving along, and it went bad. It really went, you know,
Has Trump
bad.
done a turnaround like this on literally any other Democrat? The only person that comes close is Bernie Sanders, but it's not really about a turnaround. It's more just Trump obviously respected Bernie Sanders in a way he didn't respect anyone else. Can't really think of anything else that comes close. But this is by far like the most this has ever happened. Yeah.
And he can. I think it's been at a lower
Never
point.
seen Mamdani so stone-faced before. Yeah, he's trying so hard not to smile. He's probably also thinking, like, as good as this has been for him, he's going to have to do an enormous amount of cleanup in the future. He's been very careful to respond to these questions in a way that does not actually compliment Trump. He hasn't complimented Trump once, not a single time in this entire play out, you know? But he is still going to get accused. Like liberal media is still going to do this whole like, but Trump is bad, right? Which like obviously Mamdani does not like Trump, but you know he has to play the field. He's probably like balancing how he's going to respond to these questions at his head.
Points, but it went pretty bad. I think he can bring it back. Now the question is, will he bring it back all the way? Will he bring it back greater than ever before, which is, I guarantee, that's his wish. I think he wants to make it greater than ever before. And if he can, we'll be out there cheering. I'll be cheering for him. Okay? Thank you very much, everybody.
You chose not to answer the question about the city hall.
Thank you very much.
Oh, no, I care very deeply about Jewish safety, and I look forward to rooting out anti-Semitism across the 5
They're
boroughs.
so fucking desperate. The Zionist hacks in the media are like, what the fuck? What the fuck? He broke containment. He was polling at 1% at the beginning of the year, and now he's fucking best friends with the president. They hate his ass. I am from Israel, and this is my fucking question in the Oval Office.
And protecting Jewish New Yorkers and every New Yorker who calls the City Hall.
Meanwhile, over with the mainstream Democrats, top Dems who voted to condemn socialism. So here's what. So two sides of the Democratic Party. Who right now is out there crushing it harder? Who's fighting for a better tomorrow? Okay, Hakeem Jeffries or Mamdani? You know, you choose. You choose. You decide. Well, that was fucking insane. That was absolutely wild. Jesus. I think Mamdani's going through a press gaggle here. He might. We're behind in the video feed by a couple minutes, so if I advance... nope, we just have him. Let me send this off to the editor. 1 second. What title could possibly convey the level of enthusiasm? Oh, Ryan, you're listening, right? You're watching. Okay, wonderful. Here, let me send that over. What level of enthusiasm could possibly be sufficient? Cut the video so it's just when the Oval Office begins. You don't have to include the additional like 40 minutes of lead up to it. Mamdani met Trump, they're best friends now. And then the thumb says like Trump bends the knee. I don't know. Get Grok to make an image of Trump bending the... Don't do that. I don't fucking know. Good luck with the title. Pitch 3. This shit's fucking crazy. I can't believe how well this went. I can't believe how well it went. I really can't. I'm I'm astonished. I am. It seriously seems like the parties are about to flip. Nah, it's not about the parties flipping. Look, but at the end of the day, both parties are corporate, okay? Trump has surrounded himself with self-interested sycophants, but for the most part, the party is still corporate-driven, you know? Trump and the people around him are self-interested. Mamdani is principled, or at least we have every reason to believe that he is, you know? The Democrats will fight against Mamdani because he's anti-corporate, they're pro-corporate. But with Trump, you know, the Republican Party's in a little bit more of a bind because Trump is easily wooed towards anti-corporate sentiment, or I guess I should say, I don't know, anti-deep state sentiment, whatever. Like the way for a while he's been critical of Israel, not because he's pro-Palestinian, but instead because he's annoyed that Israelis are really annoying, which they are. Just like everyone around, like from Netanyahu to all their envoys or whatever, they're just demanding and whiny. But the Republican Party doesn't really have a way of getting rid of Trump, right? It's a cult of personality. So yeah, I have no idea. Miller will try to pit Trump against Mamdani again. That won't work. Again, Miller is a sycophant. Trump will not trust. Listen, okay? Trump has spent his entire life forming these like deep bond male friendships and then having to defend them against the fire of naysayers and doubters around them, okay? This is like he's such a fucking stereotype. All right? Miller could not sway him. Nobody could. He likes Mamdani now. The psychoanalysis actually turned out to be so important. It's really important. It's really, really, really important. Any analysis of Trump's behavior that isn't borderline Freudian is it's missing something. It's missing everything. Yep, that is the White House. Okay, I don't think that I think Zoran is done.
across the street.
Do you think somebody could trick Trump into adopting class analysis? No. There's nothing that you could do to make Trump be a principled person. Or like an ideologically motivated person. Trump after 5 minutes with Mamdani.
May Allah awaken the people and help them to see the evil doings of Israel and the United States.
This will also piss off Trump's more ideologically conservative supporters and maybe even congressional Republicans. This is going to piss congressional Republicans off a lot, including the donor class. It's also going, you know, the most angry group is going to be Zionists because they've already been suspicious of Trump's ability to remain adamantly pro-Israel in spite of how fucking annoying they are and the fact that they just take and take and take and never give or offer anything. Because like Zionism was like the main angle they used against Mamdani over and over. He can't fucking breathe without being asked questions about Israel or Jewish safety in New York, you know? The Zionists are going to be furious. Congressional Republicans are going to be furious. The donor class is going to be furious. Mainstream Republicans, though, like the voters, are probably going to be fine with it. If anything, I would expect Mamdani's approval rating to rise considerably because the Republicans in New York City won't be as reflexively uncharitable towards him. How would the overly anti-Semitic part of the far right respond to this? Well, I would argue that any amount of anti-Semitism is overly anti-Semitic, but I know what you mean. The egregiously anti-Semitic, the more over-the-top wing of that. No, I mean, I would say that there are probably going to be some Fuentes types who are saying like, oh, this is based, this is like the anti-Zionist coalition rising. Look, they're working together on affordability. This is the third way, the Strasserist way, the left-right divide is being healed together. And all it took was sacrificing Israel. Of course, the problem here being that Zohran Mamdani is pro-immigration. I'm pretty sure Fuentes was literally, oh, fuck, it's one of the links you people gave me. Yeah. He's been on this bent a lot lately.
This is why I said the other night, why don't we have populist Republicans and populist Democrats that just solve problems? Just solve problems for Americans. And by the way,
I'm 14 and this is my political analysis.
I am willing to compromise with the left, 100%. I'll work with anybody. I saw the track AIPAC people. It's some progressive woman and some progressive gay guy. I'd work with them on shutting down AIPAC in a second, in a heartbeat. Same goes for Anna Kaspari and Cenk Uygur. They were in favor of democratic populism. They want to deliver health care. They want to deliver education. I would work with them in a second. In a second. A Zohran Mamdani all day. That's why I said we need to rethink and
Fuentes becoming centrist. Don't be retarded. I told you guys, though, the far right can't get that mad at Mamdani, you know? They can pretend to be upset with him eating rice with his fingers or whatever, as if Americans don't eat lots of food with their hands. I'm in more of a position to be racist over this shit than most people because I'm like mega autistic about getting my fingers oily at a restaurant. So I usually eat, if I can, like the good double fried French fries with a fork, because I don't give a shit, you know. I've long past grown. I for a time I succumbed to peer pressure. Oh, I'll eat the greasy fries with my fingers. No more. I don't fucking care. Stare at me all you want. Cutlery is racist? That's probably true. Or maybe not. What's up, my love? Oh, if you're going to stare at me from the doorframe, could you make me a coffee? I'm sorry for being rude. Can I have a coffee? Thank you. I love you.
Align our politics based on what actually matters and what matters to us.
Full
we
side.
have to drop the wokeness, arguably on both sides.
No.
We have to drop the wokeness on the left, which is anti-white and obsessed with immigration.
I love white people. And immigration.
Basically throwing the borders open. They have to get rid of the tone policing and language policing.
Sure.
And on the right, we can work together with the left. Maybe we have to let go of some of the cruelty and abuse directed at some of the marginalized communities on their side. It's true. There are
he's trying to de-cringe his community, you know? Nick Fuentes wants to be like the cool kind of refined far right, not the poll posters spamming N-word in all caps kind of alt-right. So it's cringe to be that over the top. It's like the original definition of misogynist. Nick is straight up becoming Charlie Kirk. Man, they're both super inauthentic, but that's actually doing Nick dirty. Nick Fuentes is more authentic than Charlie Kirk was. Also more alive, which it's gotta count for something.
marginal people. What else would you call a racial minority other than a marginal person?
I got it. I fucking earworm.
I'm okay with living in a society where we, as long as we close the borders, we can take care of everybody in the country.
More becoming the next Richard Spencer? Nah, dude, Richard Spencer sucked ass, man. For one, like, once he got tired of being called fat for showing up at public appearances where 6 people were in attendance, he just became like a Twitter Democrat. Like, his argument was like, Joe Biden will be greater for the white race than Donald Trump, who can't even balance a budget. Like, that was his fucking turn. No, these people are all fucking lame, man. They're all lame as hell. I don't buy it. We don't need to make these comparisons. It's okay.
We can figure out how we can all get along together as long as there is a consensus agreement that we can put America first. But what I see from the Trump administration and from the Democrats is neither of them are willing or able to actually do anything for people, for the actual people. Like, and this is the evidence.
It's really tempting to, like, engage with this as a serious argument, but I know that Nick is entirely self-interested and doesn't really care about building any kind of political project. So, like, Nick Fuentes to me is a much more conceivable human being than Charlie Kirk ever was. Even though I've met Charlie. I met Charlie. You know, I have a war trophy from that. I've got the poster of my appearance. I still have it. The poster from when I met him over on the Tim Pool show. I've still got it in my closet. Because why would I get rid of that? Now it's like memorabilia. Now it's like vintage. Bring it out? Nah, I'll do it later. Maybe. Where were you when he died? I tried to block the bullet. You can see the bullet hole in the picture frame. I tried to cover him, but it was a little bit of plexiglass paper and then cardboard backing. It didn't actually stop the bullet. Didn't do much to a 5.56, I'm sorry to say. Do you weep and look at the poster while playing sad music? We are Charlie Kirk! We carry his name! Yeah. Actually, it was a 308. Oh, my apologies. Sorry, it was a 308. I wasn't... Yo, you're right. It was a hunting rifle. You're right. 308, yeah. It was a 30-06? Okay, it wasn't a 308. It was the 30-06. I don't fucking care. Dude, the guns were so 4 years ago for me, okay? I'm out here buying $200 fucking socks, okay? Shut up. Should we be worried about the fact that Fuentes is becoming a household name? I mean, Charlie Kirk's death created a power vacuum. Look, the only thing that I care about... excuse me, sorry. The only thing that I care about here is that, like, we can't have people falling into this fake left-right paradigm, third-way Strasserist bullshit, okay? There's no parallel here, okay? You want people who can actually work together and solve things. Okay, well, here's a politician I champion, Mamdani, right? He seems to actually want to fix things. Can we all agree? I think Nick would agree on that. I think Nick would acknowledge that. Who on the far right? When these people aren't busy talking about BBC or Jew posting or whatever, what are these people doing? What far-right figure would I look to as an example of somebody actually trying to make things better for anyone? There's just no comparison here, you know? When your political movement is built entirely around vice signaling, you know, oh, it's all the poll posting and the soy jacks, trans people, fucking KYS, and black people, here's a picture of you with the watermelons, and blah, 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 blah. It's all, there's no substance to this. It's certainly not improving the lives of white people. I love white people, you know? I am a white people. If you consider half Polish people white, which, I mean, you know, it really depends on where you want to draw that line. I'm sure there are some, like, northern Italians who might not consider me white, but you understand. Slavs are white. That's very kind of you.
Chuck Schumer opens the government with no Obamacare subsidies after they funded the Trump government earlier in the year.
What do you care about that? So every Republican basically was in favor of that, voted for that. If you're in favor of preserving the ACA premium subsidies, what's an example of like a political project happening from the right that is good, that's actually trying to fix stuff? You know, there's just not really a comparison to be made. I would love an example.
Without a fight at all. But now he wants to put forward a bill on anti-Semitism. Really? So which constituents are you working for exactly? You can't condemn the genocide in Gaza on behalf of your many Muslim or progressive constituents or even Jewish constituents that have a problem with it. You can't deliver on Obamacare, but you're obsessed with it. It's anti-Semitism, white supremacy, That's a grift. That's just a race hustle. You're just a race hustler. That's just a load of crap. You can take your resolution and shove it up your ass. No one cares.
But a ton of people on Capitol Hill do this. It's not just Chuck Schumer. Look, Chuck Schumer is a particularly egregious Zionist. And it definitely, in terms of him getting attacked from the far right, it doesn't help that Chuck Schumer's Jewish. But there are tons and tons and tons of representatives and senators who do the exact same thing, who aren't Jewish, you know? I do agree it's a kind of hustling. I don't think any of these people actually give a fuck, really, about protecting Jewish people. If you defend Israel, you almost definitionally don't care about defending Jewish people. Supporting the state of Israel is antithetical to the safety of Jewish people globally, especially here in the United States, you know? You're exacerbating a whole bunch of conditions that make life much worse for them in the long run, and in the short term, too. So it is a hustle. I don't disagree with that, but it's certainly not, like, unique to Jewish people.
And the same is true on the Trump administration. What are they doing? The Trump administration has deported 300,000 illegal immigrants to date. There's nothing massive about that. 10 million came here in 4 years.
See, now, here's where there's no getting around this, right? Like, we want to actually make things better for people. We want to improve things. What if we just got together and fixed things? Well, okay, getting rid of all these illegal immigrants isn't fixing things, you know? This isn't a priority I give a shit about. You could, like, this is the only thing. I'm not going to give up on a position that's just objectively indefensible. Or sorry, like if the argument against it is indefensible, right? He's just a vile racist. Yeah. Sure. I mean, he's self-interested, right? It's just, the problem is these third position bullshit tactics never work because their base is never actually interested in doing anything for the groups of people they say they prioritize. White supremacist groups, historically and contemporarily, have not been out there helping white people. The AFD is not out there visiting white German neighborhoods and protecting them or giving them resources or working at soup kitchens or whatever else. People don't go from working in soup kitchens to working for far-right organizations. These are political projects motivated almost entirely by fear and hatred. There's no room in them to build up anything good. The fucking Nazis, they took over Germany. What do they do with that power? It sure as shit was not helping the white people of Germany. Yeah, they rebounded from the Great Depression just like every other country. That's great. What do they do with their political mandate and their power? They started the Holocaust and World War II. Neither of which, to my knowledge, substantially improved the well-being of white people in Germany. You know? I don't think those, now, maybe in a relative sense, right, like white people suffered the least of any group in Germany. I don't think their lives got better, except for the rebounding from the Great Depression thing, which again happened all around the world. So I don't really give that one. That's not a freebie. I'm not giving them that one for free. Yeah, there's just no political project here.
They deported 300,000 in a year. The Trump administration extended the corporate tax cut. No tax cut for the middle class, no infrastructure bill, no jobs, nothing. 50,000 jobs down in October. They won't even release the data. but they're subsidizing AI and eradicating regulations for AI. And
if he keeps talking like this, though, he is going to end up attracting a larger normie audience. I wonder if Nick's audience is going to be... there's two forces here, right? So Charlie Kirk's death means there are lots and lots and lots of more moderate conservatives who are looking for an online voice. And Mamdani's rise to prominence means there's an example of a politician with a lot of national prestige who actually does care about helping people, you know, improving the lives of his constituents. I wonder if these two forces combined would actually push Nick more and more towards the center, you know? Like, it's really difficult to have a broad support base when the median attitude in your community is like poll posting or like happy merchant posting or whatever, you know? Eventually things end up getting kind of like there's a schism there.
Cutting the corporate taxes, and they're giving contracts to little tech, all their Silicon Valley donors. Policing anti-Semitism. And again, from both sides, you're getting a lot of talk.
Kind of tangential, but did you see that DHS tweet where they blame literally everything on illegal immigrants? Yeah, I mean, it is the same thing that the Nazis did with the Jews, obviously. You don't need me for that hard-hitting analysis. You can probably intuit that yourself. But it's also an indication that, yeah, there really is no project on the right other than cruelty, you know? Rent is too high. There are tens of millions of criminal illegals in our country. Groceries cost too much. There are tens of millions of... Buddy, the tens of millions of criminal illegals are the ones growing the fruits and vegetables. If you got rid of all of them, the groceries would cost more. That's having the opposite effect that you think... Like, they're not actually interested in examining these problems, exploring them, or finding solutions to them. They're just... literally everything is a justification to purge the undesirables. There's no desire to improve the country. This is far-right ideology. It's the only place it can go or ever will go. There's no way to outsmart it. Smart people can believe in this, but only by deluding themselves into thinking they're different from the broader population. Hence the midwit phenomena, right? The kind of fascist who thinks they're, you know, better than the median fascist, even though they have identical positions and policies because they've, I don't know, read a little more or can turn a phrase. Purple prose. Yeah, the J.D. Vance type. Or the Miller type, to be honest.
You're getting Stephen Miller LARPing as Goebbels, talking about hippie boomers and, you know, you are nothing. We don't like the third world. And on the left, you've got Chuck Schumer bitching about white supremacy and anti-Semitism. They get nothing done for anybody. Neither the left nor the right wins. The populists on both sides get nothing. The people are not being helped in any way. And yet, the one thing they are able to come together and work...
Is Nick a midwit? No, I don't really think he comes across as pretentious, for the most part. I don't really think he does. It's not his affect. Is Fuentes smart? Yeah. This guy is so dangerous? Not so much. Nick is self-interested, you know? He's not into... He doesn't want to build a broader political project. Also, let's be real. If we could, you know, do a big Thanos snap and make Nick Fuentes a, and we could make him like the president or something, he would probably, after everything leveled out for a bit, end up trending towards like FDR-style authoritarian liberalism with some performative anti-Semitism baked in. I actually think that he would deprioritize a lot of the bigoted stuff because it would be less personally advantageous to lean into it. At the end of the day, I mean, yeah, FDR was pretty with himself. I think it's difficult to say when a person's insincere what they would actually commit to. I think that, like, a lot of this stuff gets played up for the sake of the audience. Look, I can say from experiencing, at the very least by adjacency, what these communities are like, the only real way to win their praise and approval and to keep it in the long term is by providing the impression that you're building something greater, but the actual day-to-day trail that you try to have people follow is mostly like short-term dopamine hits, right? It's populism slop, it's racism, it's anti-Semitism, whatever else, you know? You just don't see them being motivated by much else. It kind of defangs the movement a little bit, you know?
On is furnishing Israel with missiles, condemning anti-Semitism, funding Holocaust museums, endless stuff like that. So this is where we need to realign the politics. I'm sorry, but I don't see myself as aligned, actually, with these guys on the right that are obsessed with Israel. And I think that a lot of the populists on the left don't see themselves as aligned with the pro-Israel people in the Democratic Party. But
good thing we have Mamdani then.
We're supposed to all fight each other on their behalf. Stephen Miller is supposed to send me out to fight for this Trump administration that does nothing. And Chuck Schumer and their crowd, Alex Soros, and they're supposed to send their...
Alex Soros. Fucking sure, yeah. Very powerful individual. It is crazy, though, that even somebody as authentically right-wing as Stephen Miller still gets, like, reduced to being a duplicitous Jew in this framework. That's crazy. They're never going to get shit done, man. It's you literally got the executive mandate, unitary executive theory, all power ceded by Congress, Supreme Court's complicit, Trump's in power, his cabinet is filled with loyalists, and then nothing happens, and the farthest right guy in the cabinet, people are like, he's Jewish, whatever. Incredible. Nothing is ever going to change or get done. Leftist dysfunctions infected the great person. Oh, they've always been like that. They've always been like that. You can't take this stuff too seriously. Anyway, if I see you people falling for this fake populist third way slop, I'm going to get mad at you, okay? It's an IQ check. If Hitler himself was in power, they'd call him gay and Jewish. Dude, Hitler would not survive. Hitler was like a fat, ugly... Hitler would not survive in this political environment. Certainly not with his own people. You know? There's absolutely not. No way. That's why I've always said populism is a dangerous thing to attach our whole ideological movement to. Yeah, well, I've never advocated for populism only, but you have to be a populist. Also, what he's advocating for isn't actually populism, you know? If he was actually a populist, why is he so militantly anti-immigration when the majority of Americans think immigration improves the United States? So many of his points, up to a point, sound reasonable. This broader, well, what if we worked together and focused on real issues rather than defending Israel? Yeah, that sounds great. But the left just has to drop their obsession with immigration. What he means by that, the actual meaning of that statement is, well, the left just has to sit and watch us purify the country and turn it into a white ethno-state. Which, no. Nah. And if you ever tried to do that, that would be all of your... Right now, literally all of the political momentum from the president is being directed towards this... towards removing the undocumented immigrants, not even towards building a white ethno-state. The amount of political power that it would take to remove the, 150 million people in this country who aren't white or whatever, it's impossible. No country could do it. No country, no amount of political will. We're talking like a decades-long campaign of unparalleled terror. I mean, like a military-level operation where people are just being killed on the street. A lot of white people get killed too. I mean, we're talking about like a race war being enacted by, well, the military is also like half white at most. So yeah, basically you would have to destroy humanity to do it. It's not happening. Oh, we just want to work on things that actually improve people's lives, but also let's fantasize about the day of the rope. No. Fake populism. No, the race war is a 90-10 issue. Everyone wants the day of the rope. Nah. I think a lot of people are going to fall for Nick's line here. Well, I think you are, because you seem very impressionable. Because the only thing that you've been saying since you came in here today, I mean, you've just been talking about Fuentes in America First. You're impressionable. You're also probably 16. But life is going to get easier and more complicated as you get older, you know? And the people you find, convincing, I mean, that might shift over time. Mentioning John Doyle equals actual groyper. Yeah, nobody thinks about John Doyle anymore, except for people involved in these like gay right-wing infighting circles, you know? Like no one. That's crazy. That's a blast from the past. He's already surging in popularity right now. All the dumb conservatives who used to watch Charlie are watching him now and know he's a Nazi, don't care anymore. Zigabiz, quit having a panic attack on my TL, by which I mean my chat. No, not all the dumb conservatives who used to watch Charlie. Charlie Kirk had a broader, mainstream, normie, like organizational clout that is just not present with Fuentes. It might be in the future. But again, I can't be caught up in this, you know? I can't be that, I can't be that, how do I put this? Who fucking cares? ICE had their heyday. Since Donald Trump became president, support for ICE has plummeted. Support for immigration has skyrocketed. We got a taste for what it actually looks like to have an administration that focuses on, you know, purifying the country of undocumented immigrants. And what do we get for it? Nothing. Waste of money, waste of time, retarded brown shirt thugs running around our beautiful city, shitting themselves and failing to use firearms properly. Random attacks, muggers and rapists dressing up like ICE agents to commit their crimes, you know. That's what we get for it. And what have we moved the needle on? A couple 100,000 undocumented immigrants have left? Whatever. Once I'm president, I'll bring them all back and more. I don't give a shit. Repatriate, bring them in, give them a pathway to citizenship, have them demonstrate basic English proficiency. I don't fucking care, okay? Shit's not working. At the end of the day, even the median Republican gets along with their black or Mexican or Jewish or gay neighbor. I know it doesn't seem that way because the content that I engage with online, we're often talking about like the internet, where we're looking at like the maximally offensive or worst case scenario stuff or whatever the hell else, you know. The median Republican is just too busy with their day-to-day shit. Life's hard enough as it is, you know. Yes, people do talk in person very, very differently than they do online. I'm black and Jewish, and let me tell you, in real life, you're 100% right. Black and Jewish. Pick a struggle, buddy. You collecting checks for that? Christ. I'm black and Catholic. Black flick. Well, anyway. What are we talking about? Look, I've always been a big advocate for like working with the right on issues we care about. I've never seen anything that's given me the impression that anyone on the right actually gives a shit about doing anything that benefits anybody, you know? If there was some conservatives and they were like, I'm really mad about all of the intrusive anti-mixed use zoning legislation that prevents us from building new condos in this neighborhood, I'm not going to turn down working with them on that just because I disagree with them on other issues. But conservatives don't talk like that, do they? You know? Sometimes you might get like minimal overlap on issues that haven't really been politicized, but for the most part, like the right is so galvanized against things that are objectively good, they're anti-vaccine now. That's where we're at. Like conservatives are so susceptible to being directed against good things because it's politically expedient for people in power. They've been directed against fucking vaccines. And to my mind, immigration, by the way. Like, that's just insane to me. The idea that you could live in America, a country that has been shaped by immigration so strongly, where the founding fathers wanted everyone to be an Anglo and were mad about the Germanics coming in, basically from day one. I mean, the whole fucking time the country's been around, we've been swarmed with swarthy immigrants. You know? Oh, but it's different. Germanic is still white. But then, you know, they did it to the Irish and the Italians too. Oh, but what about the Sicilians? Oh, but what about the Arabs? Oh, but listen, okay, at the end of the day, we all shit brown and piss yellow. I don't care, all right? It's the same thing. You have to be some kind of retard to not look at the history of this country and realize that these immigration panics are nothing more than a cheap excuse for the bourgeoisie to stifle labor rights. Why can't we have unions? Why can't we have labor regulations? Mexicans coming into the country makes me have to pay you less money somehow. Yeah, laws could make me have to pay you more money, and yeah, I just made record profits, and yeah, you could unionize and collectively bargain and argue to have more money, but like yeah, and I know the undocumented immigrants who came in aren't even working in our field, they're working in like fucking vegetable farms somewhere in Texas. It has nothing to do with our industry, but somehow it forces me to pay you less. Come on. Who do you think you're fooling? Truman's 1949 public health care program failed to get passed because people were mad it would give health care to black people. Yep. And, you know, to a large extent, the reason those ACA premium subsidies failed to pass is because they also would have benefited black people, you know? Basically, every single good thing this country has ever had or built has been chipped away at because white people were afraid that it would go to black or brown people. So you can't look at that long history of deprivation motivated by racism and go, well, what if we kept the racism but started doing good things instead? My brother in Christ. You can't. It's not the baby in the bathwater. It's the bathwater in the bathwater. The bad things are the racism. AFD is still doing the Polish people aren't white the old-fashioned way. That's kind of comforting. Poles are the African Americans of Europe. So that's why I can say it. I've always wondered. Fuentes slop. All right. We need to take a break on the goddamn America First Twitter clips, okay? I have a feeling they're all going to sound pretty similar for a while. Anyway. How's Fox News doing?
Washington, D.C., that's where we just watched. Now I'm in New York City. We were watching that press conference. I think J.D. Vance is jealous. I think the president wants to use him as a running mate. They really got along fantastic. Hi, everyone. I'm Brian Kilmeade, lucky enough to fill in for Will Cain. You just saw it, President Trump and New York City Mayor-elect Zohran-Mamdani meeting the Oval Office for the first time following months of heated back and forth. They were taking questions. Very candid questions, very direct questions, and they shared a friendly handshake at some point. And at the end, they ended with a handshake. The mood in the room today, pretty different than what they were talking about when they were talking about each other over the past few months. Here's the president sounding complimentary of Mr. Mamdani.
Well, I'm glad they heard it too.
Your impression of the get-together we all witnessed.
You know, it was a surprise to see those two getting along as well as they did. A couple of times I asked the mayor-elect a tougher question, and the president almost helped him dodge it. Take a listen.
Oh, you're that bitch. Hey, you're the stupid fucking piggy who was like, I heard you took a plane. I thought trains were better. And Trump basically was like, shut the fuck up.
To one of them. I want to ask the mayor-elect about a House resolution. It just passed overwhelmingly to condemn socialism, including with 86 Democrats, all of House Dem leadership, and the Minority Leader, Hakeem Jeffries, despite his endorsement of you. What's your reaction to that?
I have to be honest with you, I focused very little on resolutions. Frankly, I've been focusing...
Socialism.
I understand. I think the focus is on the work at hand. I can tell you I am someone who is a democratic socialist. I've been very open about that. And I know there might be differences about ideology, but the place of agreement is the work that needs to be done to make New York City affordable. That's what I look forward to.
Oh, it cut off a little bit early, but
Yeah, you got mogged there. I don't know why you want to talk about that. We know you're a partisan hack. It's not like you're interested in actually like getting information out of him. You just want to make him look bad.
I followed up asking the president, or asking Mamdani rather, to clarify an answer that he gave earlier, where he seemed to confirm that he does believe President Trump is a fascist. And the president jumped in and said, you don't have to answer that. You can just say yes. There were substantive conversations, we are told, about crime and public safety and how the two sides can work together. The president said that regular folks would be surprised at how much they do agree on. He expressed that the mayor-elect has some interesting ideas about housing and some other cost of living issues that maybe they could find some agreement toward. I asked, because crime and public safety kept coming up so many times, if that meant working together on ICE and having ICE agents do the work that we are seeing in so many other cities. Zohran Mamdani had, obviously said that he does not believe that ICE should exist and have the role that it's having across the country. And he said in his answer that there are, I believe, 173 areas of serious crimes in which they will work together. So that was interesting. You also heard the mayor-elect affirm that he will keep the New York City police force 35,000 strong. And that was significant. And the president multiple times seemed to...
I mean, he said that like many times. He said that for months now. Chat, how do you feel about, like, aesthetically, how do you feel about barrel cuffs with a suit versus French cuffs with a suit? See, Mamdani's got barrel cuffs here, right? The cuffs are round. They fill the sleeve of the suit. And then Trump here has French cuffs, which is when the cuff is finished with a pinch, and then you have the cuff link that goes through it. Like the barrel French. Oh, that's some interesting disagreement. I've never worn a French cuffed shirt. I mean, they're obviously much more formal. I've never had cufflinks. So I haven't gotten to see it on myself.
Downplay the idea that maybe they would not be able to work together despite all of this fiery rhetoric on the campaign. You hear President Trump routinely call Mamdani a communist. You routinely hear Mamdani talk about how his administration is going to be a nightmare for the president. But there was not that tension in the room. They were clearly trying to find ways to move forward together. And President Trump also made clear that this is, about New York City, the city where he, built his life and career, has a lot of love and affection for. He even said that one day, he longed to be the mayor of New York City.
He also said, excitedly, I might add, that he would enjoy living in Mamdani's New York. Can I find this if I go far enough back in the live feed?
Just had we had a mayor. Much everybody.
No, clearly not. Wait, I'm getting... Okay, wait, hold on. This is the premiere. No, that's not the right live feed. I mean, he does love New York City. Who doesn't? Who doesn't? Man, I can't believe how well that went. I still can't believe how well that went. Jesus Christ. Centrists are more pissed than even Fox journos are. Yeah, they're scraping Ackman off of the Manhattan sidewalk as we speak. Oh my God, Benjamin. So I hear Trump likes Mamdani called it. Oh yeah, no, they're best friends. They're best friends. Mamdani played it perfectly. Absolutely perfectly. And by the way, and listen, okay, for the most part, I feel like I don't congratulate myself too much when stuff goes the way I expect it to. I'd like to think I keep it humble, at least when I'm not being performative. However, I will say I did call this. Not to the extent that it went well, but the fact that they would get along, I did call that. And I would use the platform offered to me through my successful call I would use it to encourage more people to undertake a psychological approach when analyzing Trump's behavior and the behavior of others, not not merely analyzing like policy and incentive, because I think that's completely the wrong way to go about it with him. Just it's intellectually deficient, gives you nothing. Loomer's copium. All right. Let's see what's coming from the mouth of the self-called feisty Jewess, a very normal thing to call yourself. Not condemning Trump. However, I think we can all agree it's a bad look to let a foreign-born jihadist who said he wants to implement anti-white policies like taxing white people more money to stand behind the desk of the Oval Office. Mamdani said America is a racist country, and he supports communists who say white men are the most evil people in our country. He calls Trump supporters fascists and incites violence against Jews every day. Why did Laura Loomer, like, stick to the whole Jewish thing when in every other respect she's a Nazi? Like, imagine if Stephen Miller stayed exactly how he was, but he really played up being Jewish. Wouldn't that just be incongruous? You're already extremely disingenuous. Why wouldn't you... You know? Why wouldn't you, like, lay that down a little bit? I mean, she's literally Jewish. So Stephen Miller. The same way Ben Shapiro does. Ben Shapiro is not a Nazi. Laura Loomer is. Well, you know the difference, right? Ben's a fascist, but like his positions are more or less congruous. She is in every way, like aesthetically, rhetorically, she's like a pole poster. She's insanely far right. She's like a freak Nazi, but also really plays up being Jewish. And not even in like a, you know, I am from Israel and this is my position on whether or not we should bomb Arabs kind of way. It's just weird. Ben Shapiro's Jewish, Vosh? Really? What Trump is doing now is trying to stop a blue wave. He's using Mamdani's momentum and thereby deflating Democrats. Maybe. We'll see. Maybe she's using her unlikability to make more people become anti-Semitic. Do you think that explains the cosmetic surgery? She's getting it done because she's fulfilling like a greater Aryan mandate? Thea Garthan's stare. She's been crashing out so hard, she's been telling people to not even vote in the midterms. Well, I hope people listen to her. Well, I hope their people listen to her. How long do I have to wait before all the media reactions to their interview drops, okay? How long do I have to wait? Tomorrow? I don't think it has to be tomorrow. Here, let me see. Filters uploaded last hour. I saw that, Intelligent Donkey. Yeah, I don't see. You've been paying attention to Trump's crazy Ukraine plan? No, but people keep telling me to talk about it. Okay. What the fuck is this? What's happening?
Зараз один з найважчих моментів нашої історії.
This is one of the most difficult moments in our history. The pressure on Ukraine is now at its most intense. Ukraine may now face a very difficult choice, either the loss of dignity or the risk of losing a key partner, or 28 difficult points, or an extremely harsh winter. The most difficult and further risk are life without freedom, without dignity, without justice, and believing someone who has already attacked us twice.
That major partner.
Yeah, okay, what's the plan here? I'm guessing it's a peace plan that requires Ukraine to give up land or something like that? If you won all 28 points, it's like a 5-minute read. Sure, we can go over it.
Is the United States, who this week presented a framework to Kyiv to end Russia's war there. In a radio interview with Fox News, President Trump said that he had given Ukraine until Thursday to respond. Ukraine's government says that it is carefully reviewing the Trump administration plan. And earlier, President Zelensky held an urgent call with the leaders of Britain, Germany, and France to discuss this plan. The U.S. framework was drawn up in secret by the U.S. and Russia without consultation from Kyiv or Europe. A draft seen by CNN shows the proposal includes the Kremlin's maximalist demands, requiring Kyiv to half the size of its army and cede all territory lost to Russia in the past 3.5 years of war. Under the draft framework, Luhansk and Donetsk would be recognized as de facto Russian territories, as well as Crimea, which has been occupied by Russia since 2014. Russia would also keep parts of Kherson and Zaporizhia.
Okay.
CNN's Nick Payton-Walsh is in London. Our Kylie Atwood joins us from Washington, D.C. Nick, let's start with you. As we heard there,
this seems like a complete non-starter. I mean, this is like a joke. Okay. Non-aggression agreement. Ukraine's sovereignty will be confirmed. Russia will not invade neighboring countries. Dialogue between reliable security guarantees. Size of Ukrainian armed forces will be limited to 600,000 personnel. Ukraine agrees to enshrine in its constitution that it will not join NATO. NATO agrees to not station troops in Ukraine. Russia will be invited to rejoin the G8. Frozen funds will be used as follows. Frozen Russian assets will be used on Ukraine. U.S. will receive 50% of the profits from this venture. Oh boy. China SARS. SARS. Agrees to be a non-nuclear state. The Zaporizhia nuclear power plant will be launched under supervision of the IAEA. And the electricity produced will be distributed equally between Russia and Ukraine. Both countries undertake to implement educational programs in schools and society aimed at promoting understanding and tolerance of different cultures and eliminating racism and prejudice. This sounds fucking woke. Ukraine will adopt EU rules on religious tolerance and the protection of linguistic minorities. Both countries will agree to abolish all discriminatory measures, guarantee the rights of Ukrainian and Russian media and education. All Nazi ideology and activities must be rejected and prohibited. Damn, they're going to have to gut the whole fucking Russian government. Bunch of land being ceded. All parties involved in this conflict will receive full amnesty for their actions during the war and agree to not make any claims or consider any complaints in the future. Yeah, no. It's barely even worth talking about. It's barely even worth talking about. Like, why would you this it's not going through. It's absolutely not. There's 0% chance it goes through. Like the secession of land on its own is enough. Who proposed this? The United States, with no consultation from Ukraine or Europe. So yeah, no, it's a non-starter. It's a joke. For the record, the war is going so bad for Russia, they're selling their gold reserves. My guess is that the reason this is getting rushed out the door when it's in such a laughable state is that Trump is really looking for something to pick his approval ratings up. He's trying to go for the 9 wars ended rather than just 8 wars ended. Note that is not gold bonds, they're selling actual gold reserves. Well, that's pretty funny. The Russian central bank said on Wednesday its sales and purchases of gold in the domestic market for the budget reserve have been increasing in recent years due to the enhanced liquidity of gold. Okay. Liquidity of Russia's gold market also rising. Nice, nice. Well.
Ominous words from President Zelensky, calling this one of the most difficult moments of the country's history. He went on to say, I will present arguments, I will persuade, I will offer alternatives, but we will definitely not give the enemy any reason to say that Ukraine does not want peace. Just talk about the predicament that President Zelensky, that Ukraine is put in now, and the brief phone call that we now know that President Zelensky had with Vice President Vance.
Yeah, I mean, key, I think, will be what was said in that phone call in the past. Vice President Vance has been, particularly in the Oval Office blowout earlier on this year, the one to deliver the harshest messages towards Zelensky. We don't know if that was the case here, but listening again to President Zelensky's address there to the nation, this does not sound like a president who's saying to Ukraine, we have to go along with this. The choice between dignity and losing a major ally, well, it's fairly clear what he's suggesting Ukrainians should choose there. The choice.
Trump stopping wars ever done anything for him? Actually, yes. Him negotiating the ceasefire between Israel and Gaza, a fake, immediately broken ceasefire, but a ceasefire nonetheless, kind of, did actually lead to a short-term boost in his polling. A large increase in people who said they approved of his handling of the conflict in the Middle East.
A 28-point plan or an extremely hard winter. They've had hard winters in the past. This is clearly a process, but what we don't know at this stage is precisely what concrete parts of a plan that was widely leaked, perhaps initially elements of it by Russia to show they were trying to get a peace process moving, perhaps then bits of it leaked by Ukraine and Europe in the hope, perhaps misguidedly, that the distinctly pro-Russian element of this plan would kind of torpedo it in the early stages. That hasn't happened, and instead it's kind of morphed now into this document that has a life of its own, clearly in which the Trump administration is deeply invested. There are things in there which would be militarily...
Excluding Israel and Gaza, what have the other deals done? Nothing, because that's the only... The stopped 8 wars thing is fake. The only actual conflict that's been resolved because of Trump is the Israel-Gaza conflict, and again, look into that if you want. Obviously, it's not a real resolution. He's claiming the India-Pakistan thing too. Yeah, but that didn't have an effect on his polling because it was obviously made up.
And politically, frankly, suicidal to start a rhetoric on it for Zelensky. He can't cede territory, particularly in the domestic political bind he's in with the corruption scandal swirling around his inner circle. That will be a phenomenally hard ask. He certainly can't agree to elections in 100 days after the signing of a deal. Even if he's not on the ballot, he'll be creating an electoral process there, rush with demobilization, wartime, messing it up, that will create a government whose legitimacy will be questioned from day one. And he certainly, I don't think, can agree to some elements of the decisions that get made by Russia in this document about who gets to join NATO in the future. So even when you read the text of the early versions that we've been seeing leaked to the media here...
Yeah, I don't really give a shit about this. There's a 0% chance of it being accepted by Ukraine, so who cares? It's just an insult from the administration. I'm guessing it's a desperate attempt to get poll numbers up. Hey, Vosh, why do I hear other people talk shit in Zelensky? I don't fucking know. I don't live your life. What people? For what reasons? Talk shit? What are you talking about? I'm not your friend. Why do people talk shit about Stacy? Because Stacy's a bitch. I don't know. What are you talking about? Who's other people? I hate you. On the plus side, Ken Martin went down to Seattle to say hi to Katie Wilson. I think that's nice. Not a huge Ken Martin fan, but I am a big Stacey Wilson fan. Did I say Stacey Wilson? I have not been getting a lot of sleep. PNW spiritually Canadian. I disagree. I think Vancouver is spiritually American. How do you feel about that? Huh? Sorry, got a text. All right, what else do we have listed here?
Behind me is the largest Starbucks distribution center in the world. It's one of just 5 in the country and a key choke point for all the coffee giants deliveries in the entire Northeast.
Right now, we have the facility under a full blockade.
The reason you should care about this 28-point plan is because Trump will use Ukraine rejecting it as a reason to cut all support, such as Intel on oil refineries, which allowed Ukraine to hit those refineries hard. You know what I think? I don't think he's going to do that. I don't think that Trump is actually that committed to this plan. I just think it's a desperate effort to try to win some public approval. That's not going to fly. And because the people who pitched it to him are largely like Russian assets, they pitched a very pro-Russian plan. They did this with no consultation with Europe or Ukraine. It was never going to go through. Then why threaten it? Because they're stupid.
We've turned away multiple trucks already. What we're doing is directly attacking the supply chain of Starbucks, disrupting the operations for every store in the entire Northeast. This facility delivers all of the supplies that we need to run our stores every day.
We're fighting for our very first contract after 4 years of negotiations with the company.
They have the full capacity to pay us right now for a multi-year union contract with 1 day worth of sales. They can do it for less than what they paid Brian Nichols for the 4 months of work he did.
They're blocking a distribution center. That's what they're doing. That's what makes this special. They're not just striking outside of the store they work at. They're striking to block the distribution from like a major warehouse. One of only a couple in the country, is my understanding.
Filed over 1,000 unfair labor practice charges. Brian and the company have rolled out policy after policy that actually make the workflow harder, that make the wait times longer, that exacerbate that understaffing problem. They've begun to discipline workers more, roll out new policies that workers aren't able to meet. These corporations do think that they're unstoppable, but we know that our power comes from the fact that we run these stores every day, that Brian doesn't get his salary in his private jet without us. We know that we have the power, and we know that that's where our leverage actually is.
I work at Chestnut Hill in Philadelphia. We are actually one of the first Starbucks to open in Philadelphia. Most of our customers have been going there for almost over 2 decades, so we really have this tight-knit group of people. I miss them every day, but they know that we're here for a bigger, better reasons. You guys do not give Starbucks any of your money. No money to Brian Nichols, please. He has had enough. He has $96 million for 4 months of work. I think he can take the hit.
Brian, I'm going to look at the camera because I'm speaking to you and I know you're watching. This company is in crisis. Everybody knows it. The shareholders know it. You're the 4th CEO we've worked under since we started organizing 4 years ago. Something's wrong. Customers are leaving. Wait times are long. You're trying everything in the book except for actually listening to the workers who run.
Well, the reason sales are down is probably because Starbucks coffee is shit, would be my guess. Well, no one actually gets coffee at Starbucks. You guys get these, like, abomination 2,000-calorie Frappuccino mixes or whatever. I had one of those once out of curiosity to see what you people like. It was disgusting. And you know what? Underneath all that sugar, I could still taste the burnt fucking coffee beans. So basically what I'm saying is all the money that you could give to these queer people, spend it on better beans. Thank you.
Your stores who pay your salary. So if you want to fix this company, settle a contract with us.
Union power! Union power! Union power! No contract! No coffee! No contract!
Still, though, real proud of them for doing that, blocking a distro facility, you know? I don't know, I taste what good people, what people call good coffee, and it's acidic as fuck. Well, you're probably just not used to drinking black coffee, right? Man, I had such a good double espresso the other day. I went to, Analog Coffee in Cap Hill, and I was hanging out with my buds, you know, chilling, being a public menace. And I got a double espresso. It was the easily strongest espresso I've ever had. Like, just how fucking hard it hit. They gave me a little cup of seltzer water with it as like a chaser. And the beans were not burnt. And it is not easy to not burn the beans when you're making like a double espresso. Like that like acrid, that acidity, it's very, 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 very easy to get that when you're making something that's strong. But whew, they did not. It was very, very good. Yes, sir. Burnt beans is because the grain size is not right. We had to recalibrate the grain machines every 20 minutes for perfect coffee. Yeah, it's, you know, as is so often the case, it takes a lot of time, effort, and money to make something right. A lot of training. Companies also like burning beans because it hides the shit quality of the beans. That's true, yeah. That's why they like selling you those disgusting Frappuccino, milkshake, smoothie, whatevers. Because all the ingredients you use to make those sugar abominations keep really well in storage, as long as you keep them cold for a long time. But coffee? Coffee you have to make right there and then. And it's actually decently difficult to make good coffee. So the more your flavor is being produced by easy-to-store ingredients, the less it's relying on something that's actually up to the machinery and the equipment and the people and the so on and so forth you've got right there. Is this an American Starbucks thing? I've never tasted burnt coffee from Starbucks. It's America's worse in basically every like food customer service way than other countries. So yeah, probably. I don't know. Yeah, aren't American McDonald's worse? Yes, but it's still bad overseas. Let's not thing, comma, Japan ourselves into a hole, all right? People are like, dude, look at this Starbucks Japan, McDonald's Japan. It's still Starbucks and McDonald's. There are much better places you could be. If you go all the way over to fucking Osaka and you go to a McDonald's, you should have your head bashed in. Are you fucking kidding me, man? You traveled across the Pacific and this is what you're doing with your finite stomach space and the time that you're spending over there? You're getting the lowdown on the foreign fast food slop? Jesus. What if you do it for the novelty of seeing what's different? You're right. I take back my hyperbolic statement. I don't think that you should die. My timeline is blowing up right now with people talking about the Trump-MAMDANI meeting. I'm going on vacation as soon as I end stream today, and stream is going to be ending soon. I know we haven't talked about much. Sometimes that's life. I saw the prettiest goddamn fashion post recently. But I don't know if I would be able to find it, which is deeply unfortunate because it's very, very nice. I love that fall preppy winter shit, man. It's so good. I can't find it. I don't know if I retweeted it. Fuck. This is nice, though. Nobody dresses like this anymore. All double RL. Reddit coded? What are you on about? Bill Gates core? Bill Gates doesn't dress this well. What are these called again? Are these are just moccasins, right? It's very kitsch. It's very I am an upper class like New Englander, and I like to take walks by the like you know, by the water or through the forest and then go back to my estate. I'm not sure about that duck sweater. It's delightful. Did you see the Ralph Lauren USPS capsule they just put out? Yo! Hell yeah. Do a lot of good repro stuff over there. Oh, anyway. Sorry, I got distracted. All right. That bag? Yeah, Ralph Lauren has some nice big leather bags. Where is you going for vacay? I'm going to be driving around the American Southwest, you know? Grand Canyon, Monument Valley, Zion. I'm going to be seeing all kinds of cool stuff. Going on hikes, falling into big holes in the ground, stuff like that. CNN reacts to Mamdani meeting. Oh, I want to see. Is this a react or is this just the damn interview?
Breaking news out of the
Good.
White House, that Oval Office meeting between President Trump and the mayor-elect of New York City, Zohran Mamdani. We have been watching it for the past number of minutes. It was a pretty wide-ranging conversation where the president seemed to offer praise to the mayor-elect of New York City, someone who he had previously called a communist and talked about in a certainly relatively derogatory way compared to what we saw today. Mamdani there continuing as he stood next to the president to talk about the message that he's been focused on of affordability for New Yorkers. And even when asked a number of times, and it really was about two New Yorkers. I mean, at one point, the president of the United States looks at Mamdani and says, you know, you got a job that I really used to want.
I mean, this is why politics is fascinating, Casey, because watching this meeting play out that was so hyped up with the White House calling Zohran Mamdani a communist just yesterday and basically saying, wait and see what happens when the two leaders are in the same room. The way this just played out with the president playing basically host to Mamdani inside the Oval Office, I think that entire interaction that just happened before cameras can basically be summed up as in that moment when a reporter was asking Zohran Mamdani, the mayor-elect, if he views President Trump as a fascist. And as Mamdani went to answer that question, before he could even really start to answer, Casey, the president intervened and laughed it off and said, that's okay, you can just say yes, because it's easier than having to explain. He said that...
Yeah, the question was, do you think Trump is a fascist?
Zohran Mamdani could say, yes, he believes President Trump is a fascist. He did not. And they continued to take these questions from reporters on a lot of issues where they do not agree, Casey. I mean, yes, they kept going back to affordability, but they were asked about crime. They were asked about ICE. They were asked about the National Guard. They were asked about anti-Semitism. They were asked about so many of these issues that obviously have defined their relationship and also the mayoral's race in New York City, period. And they really sidestepped a lot of the issues where they disagree and kept returning to where they do agree and where they believe they can work together. And the president said he believed it was a productive meeting. It was a great meeting. He said he would feel comfortable living in Zohran Mamdani's New York City at one point. And he was asked about comments that Elise Stefanik has made critical of Zohran Mamdani. The president said he disagreed with her on those. It was just a fascinating meeting all around to see this incredibly warm relationship between the two of them. Obviously, politics is at play here for both of them. But the president, I mean, multiple times, Casey, was grabbing Zohran Mamdani's hand and shaking it and laughing with him and pointing out his staffers who were inside the room. And so just when you think a meeting is going to be tense and fiery, I mean, sometimes you get President Trump recognizing political talent and welcoming him into the Oval Office.
Game recognizes game, I guess. Caitlin, can I ask you, I mean, this president clearly has one way when he is in person with someone who is willing to do the work to charm him. What kind of effort do you think came from the Mamdani side here to try to generate this?
I'm really interested actually in this. I wonder if they're going to get the correct response here. I wonder if their analysis is going to trend towards the psychological. I think it's considered crass for a lot of the media personalities, or maybe in the institutions they work for, to even address the psychological, you know? They want to, it's the liberal desire to reduce everyone to the institutions they serve. A bunch of like roles and functions that are near autonomously enacted, you know, as I guess puppets of the positions that they hold. You know, you would expect everyone to act the way they should in a given place. And it's kind of like unbecoming to go, well, they won't want to do that because they're like X, you know, they're emotionally compromised.
As an outcome, because again, it is extraordinarily different to see them together in person and the way the president reacts to that than it is on his social media, where, as you point out, he was calling him a communist just yesterday, essentially.
Yeah, and who knows if this will last. Obviously, if they disagree and the president tries to withhold federal funding, I mean, this is not by any means permanent. But, you know, when world leaders come to the White House, they often try to bring a gift or some kind of invitation or something to flatter the president and win him over. I was listening to Mamdani talk there. A few things he said stood out to me. He pointed out to the president that 1 in 10 voters who voted for Mamdani for mayor, he says, also voted for Trump for president. That was something the president clearly liked and highlighted. He talked about how they both ran on affordability and realized that as a key political issue for voters. And obviously how they'll tackle that seems to be quite different, but that was something they bonded over. But then, I mean, Trump is a lifelong New Yorker, and he said that he went to a pharmacy in Queens, I believe, and was saying that is where Trump's father used to go to pick up his medicine, and that was the pharmacist that he used to use. So he was appealing to him on all kinds of levels, not just political, but also the personal ones. And obviously he had been, you know, preparing for this meeting. He had consulted with people who've met with the president before going into this because they wanted it to be a successful outcome here, given this was his first time in the Oval Office with Trump.
Yeah, that takes some serious staff work. Clearly, they know what they're doing.
Interesting contrast to people like Noam and Stephen Miller, who all live in military bases. Yeah, that probably has done a lot to make them disrespectable to Trump as well. Like, listen, if there's one thing you have to give Trump credit for, he's pretty brazen. You know, he's not really a coward. I mean, Trump, you might recall, got shot at. He did, like, public venues open, no bulletproof glass, pretty often. Even after the assassination attempt, he still did public appearances pretty often, albeit with a little more security. And what's more, Trump would never, ever deign to live on a military base. Ever. If Trump finishes this term and he's still alive afterwards, you know, he's either, it's going to be Mar-a-Lago or New York, you know? There is a kind of innate authenticity there. That you know, it's not authenticity, I think, in the most respectful way, but there is something there that distinguishes him from the cowards in his cabinet who are all like, you know, hiding on military bases because they're scared of somebody throwing a milkshake at them. Probably does appreciate Mamdani's brazenness walking up and down the city.
Caitlin Collins, thank you very much for being here. And of course, we'll catch you tonight on The Source at 9 p.m. right here on CNN. All right, our panel's here in the arena. CNN Chief National Affairs Correspondent Jeff Zeleny, CNN Special Correspondent Jamie Gangel, CNN Global Affairs Commentator, the former Deputy Press Secretary Sabrina Singh, CNN Political Commentator, Republican Strategist Sir Michael Singleton, and the eminent CNN Senior Political and Global Affairs Commentator, the former Chicago Mayor, Rahm Emanuel. Thank you all for being here. Ram, Manuel, I want to start with you just because I'm really interested in your assessment.
If you or your partner like handmade jewelry, the people out by Monument Valley often have them. Oh, buddy, don't you worry. I love turquoise, like Navajo jewelry, that kind of stuff. We're going to be passing through the Navajo Nation. I have every intention of making it rain on these listen, I'm sorry you got colonized, and also like the plagues we brought over from Europe or whatever. Can I have the turquoise necklace, please? 100%.
Of kind of the raw political talent and display that
how am I gonna differentiate like the authentic producers of high quality native merchandise from people who are like drop shipping stuff, you know? Because there's got to be stuff like that out there in any kind of tourist destination. I need to like look it up beforehand.
Just saw between these two men. I mean, what were your sort of takeaways? What stuck out to you? How do you see and understand what just happened?
Well, I looked at it and saw a lot of warmth, respect, and affection, actually, between the two men, which means that the private meeting and what they talked about worked. And they were taking each other's measure, and there's a respect for capability, as you said, game respects game. The other thing that I think is really important, as a former mayor, you now have the president's blessing with the cabinet, from transportation to public housing to all the resources that are available to actually continue to...
Also, apologies to the Navajo for being exploited for their language in the military too. Actually, I'm very sorry to say, but this is a white talking point. My understanding is that indigenous leaders were asked permission for the use of stuff like, you know, Tomahawk, whatever, for the helicopters, and the indigenous leaders were like, "That's fucking dope. Hell yeah, bro." They pogged out. They were like, yo, Tomahawk missile? Black Hawk helicopter? Oh my God, please. I don't even want royalties.
Access both the cabinet secretaries and the essential resources.
Apache helicopter,
the mayor
yeah.
wants to see his agenda through. And they found places on the first meeting they both had an interest in finding that common ground. So I kind of looked at it and said, what you saw there was probably, they looked at each other, took a measure, they said what they said before about each other. That was then, this is now, and the road is ahead. So the past is the past, and the future is the opportunity for both of them. And they showed respect. And I think that's essential for this president, the way he operates.
Yeah, I mean, and it's a, you know, it's a rare. This is not a president who does a lot necessarily of embracing, unifying, showing any semblance.
Sorry, 1 second. Just like to show you how far this goes. They actually do Native American ceremonies to bless and ordain new helicopters that are named after new tribes. The Apache, this one's the Lakota chopper. Based, I would too. Hell yeah, because they're sick as hell. What matters is that they're having a good time. All right, sorry. Anyway, it's not really relevant to what we're talking about.
Semblance of connection with people who otherwise might disagree with them. It seems noteworthy on that front. I want Jeff Zeleny. I want to. Yeah, sorry. Go ahead. Jump in. No, go ahead.
The other thing is, I mean, the president also wanted a good meeting because it's an easy way to take a lot of other pieces of the news off the table, and it served his function to say, see, I'm focused on affordability too, given that you just had an election in which it's very clear the public doesn't think he focuses on affordability.
Yeah, no, it serves everybody's interests. Jeff Zeleny, I want to dig in for a second to that point.
Not being super duper crazy cynical here, which I'm happy to see, you know. I kind of expected there to be a little bit more. Hold on, I'm sorry. Did MSNBC rename themselves as MS Now? They did. They did. They changed the YouTube channel name, which means they changed the company name. That's old news? Okay, sorry. Well, I guess I'm not as up on the current hotness. What about MSNBC? What about Morning Joe? I want to see, because what I'm looking for, the main thing I'm looking for, is a cynical effort by liberals to frame Mamdani as some kind of Trump sycophant, you know?
Let me just say the thing that I think is revealed at a more substantive level, in addition to all these things we are seeing on display from Trump. To the Rev's point, the mayor-elect compromised nothing. He pulled back nothing. He did not deny calling him a fascist. He stood there.
No,
Donald
he did
Trump
not.
said, I didn't mean anything I said. You say stuff in campaigns. Donald Trump, who's facing a credibility crisis with his own base, said this about, are you standing next to a jihadist? No, I'm not. You say things in campaigns. Right. Donald Trump just gave one more example of how what he says isn't true.
I'll tell you, well, I mean, Trump doesn't care about that. He doesn't care about truth.
Yeah, but he's in a credibility crisis politically.
I don't think he sees
I have not seen any liberals doing this at all. Liberals have been glazing the shit out of him at the moment. The only people who do what you complain I saw were lefties who already hated Iran. I'm fine. Listen, I'm totally fine to have my cynicism disproved on this. I'd be delighted. There's nothing that I would like more than for this to be accepted as like an overwhelming victory. Yeah, there are going to be some do-nothing, failure-addicted leftists who will look at this and go like, he flew the plane, which is bad CO2, and then he didn't choke Trump out right there. But like, yeah, no, apart from those psychopaths, if everyone could accept this, that would make me happy.
Quite that way. I mean, Trump doesn't, we correctly think he is in a credibility crisis with a lot of his voters. I think Trump, just believes his own bullshit pretty much all the time and doesn't ever see that. But I mean, I think he hears from, Steve Bannon has been saying incredibly complimentary things about Mamdani, about not just on affordability, but on the populism of it and on how the ground game of the Democratic Socialists for America. I think Trump is getting the sense that this guy's an outsider. Right. Trump is an outsider, and he did that. He conquered this place that he looks at that and thinks, okay, game recognizes game a little bit here. Will it last 48 hours? Will it last 4 weeks, 4 months? Again, they could be sending ICE agents. They could be sending a flotilla of ICE people up the Hudson, by the time we get to Christmas. But for today, I think there's just this moment of sort of like, and the other thing we don't know, by the way, and I'm not suggesting that Mamdani has compromised anything substantively, but like if you were advising Mamdani, Rev did a little bit, but if you were advising Mamdani, you would say, hey, you know what has worked for a lot of people like
Kathy Hochul.
Well, and for a lot of European leaders is go into the Oval Office and agree with him. Tell him he's great. We don't know tonally how Mamdani buttered him up in the Oval Office. I'm not even saying that would be a bad thing. If you substantively hold your ground, you can imagine Mamdani looking smartly in the private meeting for ways to say, we're on the same team, we're aligned. And if Trump feels like...
I really, truly do not think Mamdani had to compliment him that much in their private meeting. I genuinely think all Mamdani had to do is be affable, agreeable, principled, and commiserate with Trump on their shared grudges with the powers that be, the media, the Democrats, whatever. Yeah. Establishment Dems media, 100%. That had to have come up, I don't think Mamdani would have had to compromise on anything. Do you have any idea how difficult it must have been for Mamdani to not fold on the fascist thing? He was asked about it twice. Twice! He didn't fold even slightly. I don't want to focus on the things in which we disagree. I want to focus on the affordability agenda that we're both committed to. No, he didn't even say that because that implies that Trump cares about affordability. Rather, on working together to deliver an affordability agenda for New Yorkers. That doesn't compliment Trump, but instead ropes him in on a collective project. He's so good at it. I feel like there's no way I could ever do... I consider myself good with the on-point rhetoric, but there's no way, not in 1,000 years could I redirect those bad faith questions that well. He really is a generational talent.
Someone's been flattering him in private. He walks out with that warm glow of, he's a winner, and he was flattering me in private, and so why not just give him a lot of love?
But I think the tectonic piece that Trump moved today is that Fox News and the Republican Party have very few party tricks right now, right? They cannot brag on the raids because they're wildly unpopular. Even Joe Rogan hates them. Right. They cannot point to prices because they have all gone up. They cannot point to ending wars because every day it seems Trump has dropped a bomb on another fisherman boat they allege is carrying drugs. One of the only plays they have right now is branding the Democratic Party with the smears that are untrue and racist that they've launched against the mayor-elect now for the better part of a year. Trump took
Which have now, by the way, been almost completely deflated. Without Trump as the kind of like leading figure in that effort to smear Iran, they have to do it without him. And it's a cult of personality. Without Trump, who do they have? Bill Ackman? Like, seriously, where is this, like, rhetorically, where is this line coming from now? Sure, you have, like, centrist, Democrat, Zionists, whatever, but in terms of, like, the broader denunciation, big, like the New York Post, for example, you know? Very Trump-aligned, the New York Post. What are they supposed to do now? I mean, obviously, they're going to continue to critique Iran, but it really does introduce a schism. It makes it more difficult for anyone to go after Mamdani because, I mean, he's kind of under Trump's wing is the wrong way of putting it, but Trump has definitely expressed affection.
That away. That is politically seismic.
It is very much so politically seismic. Two things. One, if the Democrats have any operatives at all, they should be cutting a commercial right now of Trump saying this and putting next to it Trump saying, you say things in campaigns to prove that he's...
I can't get over how fucking skinny he is now. Look at how much space there is. I'm not doing this like it's a fit critique. It's more of a like, Jesus Christ, you've lost so much weight thing. How much space there is between his neck and the shirt.
Disingenuous. He admitted it. He confessed on national television that don't believe anything I say. You say anything in the campaign. Secondly, Mamdani, according to their strategy, was to be the face that was going to turn the midterm elections from Democrat back to Republican. They just lost that. It's
gone.
He just removed that. The midterm elections just went up for Hakeem and Chuck Schumer
for sure.
in a seismic way.
For sure.
So I think that, I don't know what Mamdani said in private. From what I've seen of him, I don't think he said anything he didn't believe. He's a cordial guy. And he knows how to be respectful.
I've seen him doing it. I can't imagine he said anything, a noun and a verb and affordability.
Absolutely. And if he had said something, Donald Trump would have been the kind of guy to say, tell him how you told how great I was about. He would have quoted him if he said it. I think that he's just cordial. He's respectful. He came in there focused, and he walked out having sold out nothing.
He really is the main character. You know what Fox News has posted, by the way? We looked at CNN and MSNBC. The only Fox News clip, the reaction, the first video they're putting out in response to this huge meeting between Trump and Mamdani, 3 minutes, 43 seconds long. And you know what? We already saw it. Most of it is that same clip from the bitch reporter who was being snarky about the train thing. That it's this. We already saw it. That's all they wanted to put out. That's all they have. And where she basically just bewildered repeated the question she asked. Not even any broader discussion about the conversation.
Mamdani talk about how his administration is going to be a nice...
famously with each other, and they rallied together at the end. Jackie, great job, great tough questions. You had two people trying to parry them at the same time, but I understand exactly what
Literally, this is the Fox News coverage of it. They're like, wow, they really like each other, huh? Despite your best efforts to drive a wedge between them, they were both working together to deflect your shitty fucking bad faith gotcha questions. Great.
Going for it. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Hey, it's Will Kane.
Fuck you. Yeah. The Fuentes Populist Party inbound, by the way. Listen, and I'm being sincere with this one, okay? Right now, in America, we have a crisis of sincerity. It's not just in America, but it is especially in America. Nobody believes any politicians can do anything. Right now, the Republicans are facing their own disillusionment over the fact that Trump has gotten everything that he wanted. He has all the power in the world, and what is he using it to do? I mean, he's getting like nothing done, right? Like nothing's getting, like everything's getting worse, like really quickly. Job numbers, unemployment, tariffs, fucking inflation, nothing's changing with the immigration situation. ICE sucks, everything sucks, the Epstein files, And the Democrats have known for a while now that their leadership can't do shit. Schumer's unpopular, Jeffries is unpopular. Yeah, he's getting a ballroom done. There's a crisis of sincerity, there's a crisis of trust, there's a crisis of hope in this country. And you know, I think one of the people most responsible for that is Obama, right? I mean, he campaigned on the fucking thing and he got nothing done in 2 terms. Just a continuation of the status quo, bailouts for Wall Street bankers, you know, gutted half-sincere ACA program, whatever. You understand me. If Zoran Mamdani, I just said Mamdani, didn't I? Fuck. Voosh. If Mamdani can accomplish what he sets out to do and maintain this energy moving forward, I think he will dissolve a significant portion of the conservative base in this country and create a seismic shift within the Democratic Party. I think he might single-handedly eradicate this fake Fuentes populist third positionist Tucker Carlson type movement, where these racists are like, what if we pretend to care about economic issues? Will that satisfy you? I think he might single-handedly do it. All we need is proof that a politician can do good. And I've always believed they can. I have never given into the belief that all of this is fatalistic, it's predetermined, there's no way for anyone to make a difference. There are greater forces at work that make it very difficult to make a major difference. But with the right circumstances, I think a lot can be done, you know? A lot can be done. If Mamdani does it, if Mamdani can do it, I think that, you know, people are going to say, well, what about the MAGA movement? What about the third positionists? They're going to be talking about Mamdani like the way they talk about great men, like eras. You know? There will be pre and post Mamdani. It'll be like, I don't know. It'll be like the kind of political shift that people like history nuts talk about with Huey Long, except if Huey Long actually ended up being politically relevant rather than just, you know, the hyperfixation of Hearts of Iron 4 players. It's not even because he's going to do extremely, exceptionally good stuff necessarily. Maybe he does, maybe he doesn't. It's a crisis of sincerity. It's about showing people that you can make a difference. It doesn't all have to be cynical. It doesn't all have to be fake. It doesn't all have to be performative. I don't know. I'm really hoping for it, man. He's got the guts. He's got the stuff. I want to see it happen. Vosh, why do you always assume people don't care about borders or immigration? It's not just a racist meme. Most people in the world care about borders. I don't know what you mean by care about borders. Countries definitionally have borders. There's no way to have a country without borders. But if you mean, don't people sincerely care about racism? My answer to that would be, yeah, that's like the main thing that conservatives care about, more than anything else they pretend to care about. The difference, though, is that fixating on those issues never actually make their lives better. You can fixate on economic issues, procedural stuff, you know, and actually make the world a better place for people, including yourself. No one's life has ever been enriched because they focused on achieving racist ends. It just never works out that way. So usually trying to pursue these ends is fruitless. Look at what ICE has been doing. Is anyone happier? ICE's approval rating is plummeted, and not just with Democrats. Why are the Republicans unhappy? Well, maybe it turns out like actually seeing what they want. What they wanted was abstract. Get rid of all the illegals. But they thought every illegal immigrant was like a, you know, teeth missing, scars running down the face, MS-13 sex trafficker. Oh, it turns out that in real life, they're just like the regular people day to day in your city, in your country, and that the logistics of removing them means effectively a police state, except all the police officers are stupider and more violent than they normally are. Nobody likes it. Dog caught the ice cream truck, you know? My point is that caring about illegal immigration is not the same as racism. I mean, in the USA, it's different. In the United States of America, fixation on illegal immigration is racist. It is always rooted in racism. The only sensible procedural way of addressing the number of illegal immigrants we have in this country is by giving them a path to citizenship. But obviously, that's not what people talk about. It would be another thing entirely if we were a country that was actually being overwhelmed infrastructurally by illegal immigrants. That would be a different situation, right? Like, if we were a country of 20 million and we had like a civil war in the country that bordered us and we were getting like 3 million people a year and it's like, fuck, they literally cannot manage the number of people coming in. Turkey, for example. I think Turkey would be a good example of a country that can legitimately express grievance over the refugee crisis. Like the Syrian refugee crisis, Turkey took in the vast majority of those refugees, you know? Only a percentage of them made it further north. But in America, that's not the problem we have, of course. Well, anyway. I want to be in the room where it happened, but you weren't, and you never will be. All right. Noah, too cool for school. Thank you for the $5. Thought on duffel coats. I like duffel coats a lot, actually. I like duffel coats more than I like pea coats. I just think they tend to be more handsome. My favorite, duffel coats that have that like fireman clasp, you know? I think those look really, really, really cool. Show? I know one from Engineered Garments. Here. Oversized fireman duffel coat. This kind of thing. And not a very good photo of it, but I think duffel coats are quite nice. I prefer them to pea coats. Pea coats, I feel like you have to dress kind of formally with them. Like you need some kind of button-up shirt at the very least, or at least a flannel. But I feel like with these, you could wear them over a sweater. Well, you can wear a pea coat over a sweater as well. I don't know. I just like duffel coats. I think they're pretty. Narmer, thank you for the very kind $10. Aroi, at your request for the $5. Happy birthday, Kayla. Also endorse her for president. I don't know. What if she's fascist? I couldn't do that. Absolutely not. Ban Annibal, thank you for the $10. Last year, I very cringily attacked Benjamin Gilbert Liff here. I mostly stand by the sentiment at the time, but I'm happy to see what he's been up to since then. Good job. Oh, no, you don't need to retract any prior impression you've had of BGL being annoying. All those are true. However, he's now channeling his energy towards doing real good in the world, and that's admirable. More than can be said for most of you, by the way. You're annoying and useless. So basically what I'm saying is there's hope for all of us. Take it in a positive sense. Simric, thank you for the very kind $15. It's like Gran Torino, but in politics. The racist old man warms up and is friendly to young minority immigrant in his neighborhood. This is so funny. It is very funny, though. I really don't think Trump has ever been that interpersonally racist. Again, he's racist in like the 80s businessman way, right? Where he thinks like, well, Hispanics are good at mopping and Jews are good at accounting or whatever. But like, I guarantee you Trump's sucked off guys before, you know, at like the cocaine parties. He's not like it doesn't corrupt his interpersonal engagement that much. I would argue though that he's deeply misogynistic in that interpersonal way. If that makes any sense. Like you can see the chauvinism dripping off of him. But I don't necessarily think that that comes across like interpersonally with race. He hates black women though. Oh, he fucking despises black women. Look, don't get me wrong. He is racist. But he plays it off interpersonally if he respects a person. It's again, it's all psychological. People always make the mistake of mixing up a person's beliefs and a person's behaviors. It's possible to be behaviorally misogynistic, but you're not really aware of it because you're not too introspective, and politically you're very feminist. It's a contradiction, but it's a contradiction millions have. And the reverse is possible. It's possible to politically think that it's probably better for society that women stay in the home, but interpersonally you think and act normally with women. That one's a lot more rare, but it's still possible, you know? People always make the mistake of mixing up again, it's the psychological element. You have to respect the relationship these forces have, you know? Knock knees, thank you for the $10. Sexy turquoise bolo tie fund. I'm not a big bolo tie guy, I'm afraid. I'm not a huge fan of them myself. I'm not a huge fan of them on me, I should say. But I do like turquoise jewelry. I mean, I wear so much Western wear, you know? coward. Fuck you. But they would look good on you? Sure, sure, maybe, but, you know. Says the so-called Western wear enjoyer. Listen, bolo ties are a very specific subset of Western wear, okay? That's not like the be-all, end-all. Are the sleeves on these kinds of jackets meant to be a bit short? What they're meant to be? I can't really say. I don't really know. It depends. Oh, yes, that does make sense. This is modeled after a fireman's coat, hence the clasps. My guess is that because firemen wear massive gloves, their cuffs might end a little bit earlier because you need to be able to tuck the... You need to be able to have them interlock. That would be my guess. Though I would need to see like reference images of actual firefighters to get a look for it. Just realizing right now that Dye Workwear on Twitter is followed by Katie Wilson's account. That's incredibly funny. That model does not have shoulders? Well, a lot of models are very tall and skinny with very narrow shoulders. Gotcha, Leyline Lost. Thank you. All right, okay, defeated. Don't argue too hard, guys. Don't argue too hard. Let's all get along. Man, look at this. I believe this is from the company Norbit. Yep, Norbit, right there. They make some really, really, really nice outdoors wear. Very, very beautiful. Look at that. A duffel closure that connects the outer side of the left breast placket to the shoulder seam of the right. Like, what are you doing up there, man? That's crazy. Look at that. Oh, wow. Look at... That is a ruggedly masculine frame. It almost makes it look like pauldrons. God damn. Epaulettes, yeah. Norbit's clothes are obscenely expensive, but if you ever wanted to get one really cool jacket, I suppose. Hoi Polloi, thank you for the $10. This memo from a local Michigan County Republican Party was just made public 2 days ago. They deny this was official. What is this, white power shit? Motorists are justified in driving their vehicles to the protesters to escape. Okay. So just some like Hitlerite shit that leaked, but its authenticity hasn't been confirmed. I'd have to look at this later, I'm afraid. Ryan Grimm falling for the Uniparty stuff. Yeah, look, I respect a lot of what Ryan Grimm does, but unfortunately I do think that he's always been kind of vulnerable to like weird third positionist stuff. Yeah. I don't know. It's like a consistent failing with him. He spent like 8 hours arguing with Grok. Okay, he might be insane. Might be insane. Okay, I gotta read these donos. I've got a pack for my fucking flight. Sake, thank you for the incredibly kind 15 gifted tier 1 subs. I yearn for the day where every infrastructure groundbreaking properly owes homage to the socialist-leaning future created by the Vashite community. Every infrastructure groundbreaking will require the Vorst dance around a makeshift Coconut Island number of times to properly commemorate. Insufferable, Sake, thank you. Really, though, yeah, I don't know. I do feel like there's going to be a pretty strong tie between political radicalism, like from the left in the future, and basic infrastructural competence. Like the ability and willingness to build new things and maintain them is going to become an increasingly radical position, lest we risk like getting a declining Roman Empire type situation where all of our bridges fall apart and we don't have the money to rebuild them. That guy with no name and Pumpernickel, thank you for the $5 both. Appreciate that. Yes, I saw Ben's donation on YouTube. Don't worry, I get to them all. And SavePoint, thank you for the $5. Hey Vosh, I'm doing art inspired by memes that are turned into game characters. You can check it out on your off time. Enjoy vacation. Hell yeah. That's actually really cute. I really like the dynamic pose. That exchange was hilarious. I think he has AI psychosis. Maybe. I really like that. Here, I gotta link this in chat, but I do have to move quickly. I'm sorry. There you go. Link, please. There you go. Yeah. Okay, let me read the super chat. Yo, 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 yo. Oh, there's a lot of super chats. What the fuck? I guess it was a pretty big stream. Been very nice. Lately, the numbers have been consistently above 10,000 every day stream. Really, really wonderful. Can't tell you guys how much I appreciate that. No matter how many up and down cycles I go through, or no matter how long I do this, I never stop being appreciative of the just, I don't know, ridiculous and borderline incomprehensible amount of attention that I get sometimes while sitting here doing this and thinking up like when I'm going to interject and interrupt the CNN reporters with a dick joke. And you know, I feel like I'm getting better with it too. For the most part. Today I felt a little low energy, but I really think that's because the cough still the cough really gets me, you know? I need to get a primary care physician and just sit them down and say, like, your job is now to fix this for me. Okay. Stupid Genius, thank you for the very kind $10. Tecalo99 and D.O., thank you for the $5 both. Paloma Del Mar, thank you for the $2. Manny Gambarodi, Don Juan III, and that cabbage, thank you for the $5, Real, and Canadian dollars all. I really appreciate those. Thank you. They just cleared Bolsonaro jail so he can stay there forever. Nice. Hell yeah. And Manny, thank you for the incredibly kind donation. Vosh, you've become my main source of entertainment, news, and politics lifestyle takes, helping me change my perspective for the better. Thank you. I really appreciate that. Just remember, never harden yourself against the potential or sort of, you know, numb yourself to the potential to find other people whose perspectives you resonate with just as much or more, you know? Finding new people and new perspectives to engage with is incredibly important, you know? Not suggesting that you don't, only saying it's important that everyone do. Dio, Avery Nyankat, and La Bio, or perhaps Bu, or Buyu. Thank you for the $2 all. J5L5M6, thank you for the $10. Mamdani looking like a proud father making his son apologize for bullying other kids in class. He did look much more stern and steely up there than Trump. Excuse me. Donald Obama Biden and Rob P, thank you for the $5 both. Thoughts on the horrific 28-point peace plan for Ukraine? Pretty horrific, but I don't think that's getting accepted. Sharpness, thank you for the 45 try. I forget what currency that is. I apologize, but I got to move quite quickly. I appreciate it all the same. J5L5M6, thank you for the $2 donos. And Godrito, thank you for the $2. Sean Carbo, thank you for the $10. Bill Ackman shitting himself right now. Bill Ackman's actively trying to flush himself down a toilet right now. It's really sad to watch. Blue Nexus, thank you for the $10. This is the beginning of Woke 2. Unironically, I think the wind's a-blowing, you know? Kuroto01, thank you for the 5,000 CLP. I'm afraid I don't remember what currency that is either. CLP, folks, want to take a pitch at that? This reminds me of when Harry met Kim and made him become a better person just to make Kim happy. We're talking, I assume, about Disco Elysium, correct? Chilean peso. Gotcha. Man, I fucking love Disco Elysium. I wish I could wipe my memory and play it again. NB Comics, thank you for the $2. Two $2 donos, actually. Calmo99 and J5L5M6, you've been very kind to me. Thank you for the two $5 donos both. Do you think the insane hyperbole about Mamdani made Trump be pleasantly surprised by the real Mamdani when they met? I think that Trump recognizes that stuff said on the campaign trail, well, I guess I should say, to Trump, political claims are just a smokescreen that you use to gain power. It's like being a businessman. You make deals not because you think that deal is right, but because it gives you a good negotiating position, you know? I think that Trump doesn't really care that Mamdani called him a fascist because Trump thinks Mamdani is as insincere as he is, motivated personally by stuff like power, gain, fame, legacy, but he probably thinks that Mamdani saying that Trump's a fascist means about as much as when Trump claimed that he's a communist, which to them, they're just both meaningless statements that you use to play up things for the media. You know what I mean? Isaac Franson Film, thank you for the $10. After Mamdani won, my partner actually brought up the idea of moving to New York in the next few years to pursue our art careers. Here's to hoping he can actually bring the prices down. Hey, good luck. If you're going over there, get ready to live in a small place, you know, but New York City is the best city in the world. 100%. What, you don't think Trump thinks Iran is genuine? I think that to Trump, for Trump, being genuine means being strong in your personal convictions and advocating for your will and your own best interest, and that Trump respects other people who have that mindset about the world. I think that Trump believes that politics is just a big game where you say shit to get power, which it kind of is, but he doesn't really believe the stuff he says. Think about his position on transgender people, right? Trump barely mentioned trans people in his first term. In between his first term and his second term, he literally said to an audience full of his supporters, I don't know why, but you guys go crazy when I bring up the transgender people. You're quiet when I bring up X, but you love it when I bring up Y. And now he talks about transgender for everyone, like a regular talking point. To him, it's always, shut up! Jesus. To him, it's always been just another talking point to use. It's not really about what he believes. He doesn't care if people are trans. Probably, you know? You understand what I mean? I think that Trump thinks Mamdani's like that too. Wigwoo, one with the $5. Thank you. Francisco Lucas and Nico Seaka, thank you for the $2 both. Sean Carbo, thank you for the $10. Do you think this scares Kathy Hochul? I'm not sure. It could represent an opportunity for her. Matt D. Jolish and God damn it. J5, thank you for the $5 all. Really appreciate those. Thank you. Stupid Genius, thank you for the $10. Take some more money for your emergency fund you're going to need after you inevitably cause World War V going on this vacation. Sorry about that. Got to attend a friend's wedding. High Shelf, thank you for the very kind $20. I think you should do more socialization segments. I think your personal experiences, education, and personality positively dispose you to having good takes in self-help and socializing. For the most part, I agree. And I really enjoy those segments too. I just want them to be prompted by something, you know? I'm happy to have those conversations if they're prompted by something. I just don't want to spin into it because it's on my mind. But no, it's very, very, very important, right? You know, a good life is built on a good foundation, and the good foundation is the good self. You have to understand yourself and the people around you. Otherwise, you're cooked. Benjamin Gilbert Liff, as I said before and say again, thank you so much for the incredibly kind $500 dono. They really liked each other. Thank you very, very much. D.O., thank you for the $2. Amateur PWN, thank you for the $5 Australian. Ghost of Avalon, thank you for the incredibly kind $10. Mamdani continues to show he's the future of the DNC if the Democrats weren't so addicted to losing and being domined by Republicans. Yeah, no, 100%. He really is a gift to them. He really, really is. And Ghost of Avalon, thanks for the additional $10. This is the corporate equivalent of a clogged artery. If they don't do something quick, this could seriously damage or even cripple Starbucks company. Yes, the strike at the distribution facility, 100%. No, it's a big deal. Yeah, I want to cover it more when I'm back, assuming it's still going on. Still alive, thank you for the 5. I'm afraid I have not seen any Ken Burns documentaries. J5L5M6, thank you for the incredible kindness today. Thank you for the $10 as well. I love Ralph Lauren, parentheses, used to work at the company. Oh. But if you want to purchase USPS gear, go to their site. It helps their budget, and so much of it is cool. I'm literally wearing a US mail cap as I type that. I didn't even know you could do that. That being said, I sincerely doubt that the clothing the USPS offers right now is as drippy as the Ralph Lauren reproduction of the old like duster coat they would wear, right? Still, they do have some nice stuff. I'm looking at it. I hate coughing. To Kale Murner, thank you for the $2. Really appreciate that. Spidunko, thank you for the $5. Yes, I 100% will be checking out the Monument Valley jewelry stands. Rescriptor, thank you for the $5. Shirley, sorry for the lack of donations. Been donating monthly to PV instead. Never, ever, ever apologize to me for not donating. Every donation is a kindness, but the main thing I care about is your viewership. Thank you. And thank you for getting a PV membership. Fuck, my fucking diaphragm is mad at me from all the coughing. Skynet Zero, thank you for the $5. Thank you for being the only leftist that doesn't fucking discount Mamdani's wins and claim he sold out. There are plenty of other good leftists out there, but a lot of people really are just addicted to being on the outside, always losing, always on the back foot, always complaining. I don't want to be one of those people. I don't like losing. I like winning. I do enjoy complaining, but I want to choose the right things to complain about, you know? Kowalski, thank you for the $5. Very happy to hear that your farm has thrived this year. And Misgender Lynn, thank you for the gifted tier 1 sub. I really appreciate the sentiment. I will take photos on my vacation and have a wonderful time. All right, folks, sorry. I'm pretty much at my limit here, especially after all the talking from reading the donos. My stomach actually does hurt from all that. I love you all very much. Take care. You're not going to see me for a little while here in this seat, but after I have my fun, I am still going to be recording with my phone and uploading stuff so my editors can send it off to the channel. So you might be able to see me recording stuff with the background being like, I don't know, Monument Valley. Wouldn't that be cool? Like if I'm doing this shit and behind me is the mesas. I think that'd be pretty cool, in my opinion. I'll try not to fall into the Grand Canyon. Take care. I'll see you guys soon. I'm sorry about whatever earth-shattering world events take place in my absence, you know. Stay safe and drink water, okay?